Good evening, everyone. We'll commence the council meeting shortly. Before that, I would like to remind you about some of our governance rules. During council meeting, members of public cannot address the meeting outside of public question time, must not interject or act offensively, must remain seated, must switch mobile phones to mute, must not operate any recording devices, audio and or visual, without obtaining consent from the Chief Executive Officer at least 3 days prior to the council meeting, and can display placards or posters provided they are not offensive, do not obstruct entrances and exits to the chamber or impede any view of a person. Thanks, everyone.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's council meeting, Monday, 26th of August, 2024. Item 1.2, attendance, please, Mr. Manivasa Gasavam.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Angela Long is an apology for tonight.
Thank you. Item 1.3, acknowledgement of traditional custodians of land. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Bunurong people, and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We recognise and respect their continuing connections to climate, culture, country and waters, and we also pay our respect and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their elders present here today in acknowledging their journey. Item 1.4, offering of prayer, reflection or affirmation as part of Council's commitment to recognise the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community. The prayer, reflection or affirmation this evening will be offered by Mrs. Ursula Aruma, a member of the Greater Dandenong Interfaith Network. Are you with us this evening? No? Okay, I would request Councillor Milkovich if he could read a prayer or affirmation for us, if we could all please stand.
Thank you, Mayor. May we come to understand that blessings are everywhere, that our attitude will affect outcomes, that challenges are often gifts in disguise. May we come to trust that most things can get better with time, that our instincts and gut feelings have value, that a positive attitude makes things go smoother. May we come to see that we have many skills and talents we can use, that we are a positive influence on so many people, that there are those around us who wish us well. May we come to value that today is a blessing to be enjoyed, that each person is unique and important, that each moment of my life has meaning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Item 1.5, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. Could I get a mover, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Thank you, seconder Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Item 1.6, disclosures of interest, please, Mr. Manivasa Gasavam.
Mayor, there's no interest declared so far.
Thank you. Item 2, Officers' Report, Part 1. 2.1, Documents for Sealing. 2.1.1, Documents for Sealing. Mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Tan. Seconder.
Councillor Lim.
Sorry, Councillor Trong just got in there. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 2.2, Statutory Planning Applications. 2.2.1, Towning Application Number D5/2A Westall Road, Springvale. Planning Application Number PLN24/0022. Can I get a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Can I get a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 2.2.2, Town Planning Application Number 466, Cheltenham Road, Keysborough, 3173, Planning Application Number PLA 24/0029. Can I get a mover, please?
Happy to move, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Can I get a seconder?
Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 2.2.3, Planning Decisions issued by Planning Minister's Delegate, July 2024. Can I get a mover, please?
Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard as a mover, Councillor Mehmeti as the seconder. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 2.2.4, Planning Delegated Decisions issued July 2024. Can I get a mover?
Happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Dark, and seconded by Councillor Tam. Is that you? Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 3, public question time. Question time at council meetings provides an opportunity for members of the public in the gallery to address questions to the councillors, delegates and/or officers of the Greater Dandenong City Council. Questions must comply with S 4.5.8 of Council's governance rules, and I will be reading out the questions this evening. Our first question is from Philip Lamaro from I was just about to get to that. Thanks, Philip. So Philip Lamaro from Dandenong is here wanting to ask the 3 questions in person. So if you could just come up to the lectern, please, Philip. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. I should really print these out. Sorry about this. The state government has advised they are removing the Webster Street train crossing with work starting next year. They've also advised that they will close car access at Webster Street and create a new tunnel by extending Cheltenham Road onto the Princess Highway. The Labor government has advised that Webster Street will be closed off next year and the new tunnel will not open until 2028. That means during these 3 years, the traffic from Webster Street will be redirected to Foster Street, causing a traffic chaos. Foster Street is already a traffic nightmare, and most days, let alone with the road almost doubling with traffic. What actions has Council planned to do during these 3 years while the new tunnel is built to help this situation?
Thank you, Philip. We'll ask Acting Executive Director, City Futures, David Feist, to respond, please.
Thank you for your question, Philip. Council officers have been liaising and providing information to the Level Crossing Removal Project team to aid them with the development of a traffic impact assessment and mitigation strategy for the period following the Webster Street and opening of a new underpass. So Council's expectation is that the Victorian Government would deliver a comprehensive suite of traffic mitigation measures during this time on both state-managed arterial roads as well as local council roads. We anticipate that this will include intersection treatments, significant signage packages, and a commitment to ongoing monitoring of treatment of issues relating to congestion and the safety of our surrounding road network. Thank you.
So just to confirm, with the shop owners on Foster Street, will they be compensated or will they be penalised, or will they continue to be penalised because of the traffic for the 3 years?
That wasn't part of the question, Philip, so if that's a question that you are asking as part of your 3 questions.
Well, it was I asked what was the actions Council was doing. That was one of the actions.
And I believe that Mr Feist answered that. So if that's a further question that you'd like to ask, that's one we might need to take on notice.
Okay.
So which would you prefer?
Okay, I'll keep asking.
Thank you.
6 months ago, I stood in this council room and advised I was non-binary and I do not consider myself a gender male. I have sent many emails to councillors and council advising I am non-binary, but to this day, the Mayor continues to call me Mr. This is not my pronoun. It is offensive and insulting and pure transphobic. I'm quite upset about this.
I find that a bit offensive, so if you could continue with the rest of the question that you'd actually written, and that is false because I have not done so, but please continue with the rest of your questions.
You have called me Mr. many times, but we will continue. Council has repeatedly refused to get the rainbow accreditation that would clarify this issue. That would train and educate everyone in this room to use the correct pronouns and not to be offensive to people like me, as this is the most inclusive area, apparently. Will Council now acknowledge that their current policy does not work and ensure that they will get rainbow accreditation for the future safety of its queer community?
Okay, that's not the questions that we had here, but we will answer them as best that we can. So thank you for the question. We'll ask Executive Manager for Strategic Growth and Advocacy, Ms. Marjan Hajari, to respond, please.
Thank you to you, Mayor. In relation to your formal complaint, it has been noted and a formal response to this complaint will be issued according to the due course. In relation to inquiry about Rainbow Tick accreditation, it is envisaged that the new established LGBTIQA+ advisory committee that we are going to endorse the TOR tonight will consider and make recommendations on initiatives such as this. These recommendations would then be taken to Council for consideration and potential endorsement. A preliminary analysis conducted by Council officers, and it has been identified that getting the Rainbow Tick accreditation can range from $30,000 to $90,000. Like any other decision-making process undertaken by Council, cost and officer resourcing will also inform our final decision-making through the new Council.
Thank you, Ms. Hajari. And your third question, please, Philip.
Okay.
Tree planting.
I can read. Thank you very much. There's no need to be rude. Council advised last meeting they were planting 11 trees on Thomas Street in part of its activity centre tree planting policy. Most if not all of these trees were planted at a cost of almost $1,000 each. Council is aware of the Webster Street train level crossing removal and extension of Cheltenham Road to Princess Highway that is starting next year. Many of the 11 trees Council planted this week on Thomas Road will be removed next year as they are in line for the proposed road extension, making a waste of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money, let alone the waste of precious trees that Grey Dandenong needs. Myself, residents, and I'm sure councillors would like to know how this happened, and my question is this: will Council be relocating the trees that would be removed by the road extension next year to other areas of Central Dandenong to keep their promise of planting 24 trees in Central Dandenong?
Thanks for the question. We will ask the Acting Executive Director for City Futures, David Feist, to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Philip. So 11 trees have been planted along Thomas Street in accordance with the Activity Centre tree planting plan. The average cost and installation of a street tree, it's actually probably around $200 per tree. But with regards to the Webster Street level crossing removal, the actual project or overall design of the project is yet to be determined. So if some of the recently planted trees at the southern end of Thomas Street, if they are impacted at all, then in the interest of preserving these trees, they will be relocated and replanted within Central Dandenong where possible. But happy to reach out also just to clarify the other locations with you as well that have been planted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your questions. Our next question comes from Gai Guest from Keysborough. Philip, I'll ask you to take a seat, please. You've asked your questions, you need to take a seat. Take a seat, please. Thank you. Our next question is from Gai Guest from Keysborough. It's Tree care responsibility. 800 children planted 2,300 trees and shrubs in Springvale South on Friday, 28th of July 2023 to launch Greater Dandenong's One Tree Per Child program. Year 3 students from 14 primary schools were joined by the program's co-founder, John Dee, for the mass planting at Spring Valley Reserve and Councillor Garrard. 13 months. Saturday, August 24th. One student returned to see the growth in his tree and found none had survived. Who was responsible for looking after 2,300 trees and why were they not nurtured for at least 2 years of their lives? Why, on the eve of caretaker mode, did council make the decision to sell the tree at 51A Douglas Street when a new council may have seen the error on this council's current errant way and protected the mature iconic heritage river red gums that can be weather all climate conditions? Residents are disappointed that they are being kept in the dark like mushrooms over many significant issues affecting our LGA for the next 20 to 30 years. Council must be transparent moving forward and stop going in camera on decisions that severely impact the residents who expect their elected representatives to uphold their values and take their concerns seriously. The issue is just the tip of the iceberg that will eventually sink the Titanic, and a report should have been made public that these saplings did not survive. Dr. Greg Moore quotes, "For every mature tree that we cut down, we need 48,000 saplings to replace it, because the lifespan of these saplings are in jeopardy if they are not nurtured lovingly and checked to see if they have survived, thrived. It is a huge lesson that needs to be addressed by the relevant people responsible for this debacle and another sad day for us all." If I could please ask David Feist to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Gay. The recently revegetated areas within Spring Valley Reserve have been under maintenance for the past 12 months. When revegetating landfill sites, planting densities or the number of trees that we're planting are often increased to account for the natural attrition that's associated with the difficulties of establishing vegetation in reclaimed areas. So on this particular site, some plants have failed to thrive in one garden bed due to the challenging site conditions. To address this, the remaining healthy plants were relocated and consolidated into a single garden bed where they are now establishing successfully, and Council's Parks team have been working on amending the existing garden bed with a view to undertake future revegetation. With reference to the query around 51A Douglas Street, there was a previous resolution and decision by Council in a Council meeting, and officers continue to act on that decision as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question.
Can I make a comment? I just want to add to that I have observed the trees and that it is correct that they have been put in an area where they can flourish, and they're actually doing very well. So it's not quite correct what was observed, but we appreciate the community looking after these assets.
Thank you. The other question we have this evening is from Dom Bakari from Keysborough. Dom's not here. Keysborough South Open Space. Can CGD officers please explain how they have determined the open space in the ward of Keysborough South has not been reduced as per their recent statement? The Keysborough South Community Hub, Villas Road exit and the Football Pavilion and Springers Pavilion car park has reduced our open space. Are there aerial photos available to us? And I will ask Acting Executive Director of City Futures, David Feist, to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Mr. Bakari. While open space is often seen as green areas such as football grounds, playgrounds, and areas with walking paths, it also includes other council facilities that are available to the public as well. So sporting pavilions, community hubs, and the support and the ancillary works, including car parking areas. So these types of facilities are seen in many open space areas throughout Melbourne as well as Dandenong. And as such, while they are not considered to be green areas, they are normal public facilities that form part of our open space and are not considered to reduce the amount of open space available to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Second question from Don Bakari from Keysborough is Keysborough South open space. As we, the residents of Keysborough South, are contributing towards the levy of $350, we need to have a voice to how our levy is managed. Can officers arrange a meeting with residents to introduce a body corporate style of management group for this open space area we have? If not, why not? If I could ask David Feist to respond again, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question again, Mr Bakari. The open space areas in Keysborough South are maintained to the same council standards as open space throughout the rest of the municipality that do not require a body corporate style of management, nor are there any other councils that we're aware of that take this approach. The levy exists due to the higher proportion of open space in Keysborough South, so anywhere to 15-20% total open space area, compared to other parts of the municipality where the total open space area is in the order of 5%. So it's not because of different or variable elective maintenance standards, but due to the size of the area available within Keysborough South. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final question from Don Bakari is Villas Road, Keysborough. Why have the streetlights on the extension of Villas Road in Keysborough South not been working for many weeks? Can officers please attend to this matter to ensure residents feel safe while walking the footpath of an evening? If I could ask David Feist to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question again, Mr Bakari. Thank you for raising this issue with us at Council. We're now aware of the issues with the public lighting along that new section of Villiers Road in Keysborough South. The lights from Grevillea Street to the roundabout at Springers Leisure Centre are council-owned metered public lights, so they do fall under council's responsibility. So thank you for raising that with us. We are now aware that there's some ongoing technical issues with some of the circuits associated with that lighting, and council officers and contractors are now working to resolve these. So works are currently in progress, and we're expecting that to be completed by the end of next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Kate Winterton from Dandenong. Walker Street Gallery. Over the years, Walker Street Gallery has become less accessible for the public to visit exhibitions and enjoy art programs. This is due to its restricted hours of operation. The current gallery opening hours are between Tuesday and Friday and only for 4 hours a day between 12 p.m. and 4 p.m., which is inaccessible to many patrons, visitors and the arts community who have employment commitments during weekday hours. These members of public are sadly missing out on the well-curated exhibitions and arts program due to these restricted hours. Opening the gallery on the weekend would make Walker Street Gallery more inclusive for people who work during the week. Could Council amend these opening hours so that the gallery is open on the weekend? Would Council please look into this request so that artists and art lovers who work during the week also have a chance to visit Walker Street Gallery exhibitions? If I could please ask our Executive Director for Community Strengthening, Peter Gillies, to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thanks very much, Kate, for your questions this evening. We certainly recognise the importance of accessibility for all community members, including those that cannot visit during weekday hours. Over the past year, though, we have actually opened the gallery on Saturdays for public programs and events such as exhibition openings and the arts tour bus, which have been really well attended. We are currently reviewing our resources and are considering introducing regular Saturday openings on the third Saturday of each month. And as well as on the days of exhibition opening events, the gallery's hours will also continue to be adjusted and aligned to match those events. In addition, we've also made the gallery accessible to those by extending out after hours midweek opening hours and programs during the week. This has led to a significant rise in visitation. From July 2023 to July 2024, we actually welcomed almost 30,000 visitors, which was more than double of the previous year, which was 14,500 visitors, which is great news. We're committed to ensuring that the Walker Street Gallery remains an inclusive and accessible space for all members of our community, and certainly will continue to look to ensure the hours reflect that.
Thank you for that. Second question from Kate Winterton from Dandenong is Artist in Residency Program. The Artist in Residency Program at Heritage Hill is a valuable opportunity for artists to gain access to a studio space and engage with the public through talks, workshops and open studios. When will this Artist in Residence Program be back up and running at Heritage Hill? If I could Sorry, this continues on. The residency program provided artists with a studio space for creating work and has been a valuable asset to our local arts and creative communities, which is needed now more than ever. What is the future for our much-needed artist in residency program, and when will we likely see a call out for artists in residence applications back online? If I could ask Peter Gillies to respond again, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thanks again, Kate. Certainly the Artist in Residency program has been very well received by the community. The Arts and Cultural team is currently reviewing the program, but I'm also pleased to report while we're refining the new model, which will actually add additional opportunities for artists in residence to join the program. While we're doing that though, we have already conducted 5 rounds of the programs with schools focusing on educational development. The new Artist in Residency program will include 3 tiers, so again, increasing the availability of the program to the community. And we look forward to sharing further details of that towards the end of this year for commencement/launch in early 2025.
Thank you for that. Our final question tonight is from David Quinn of Dandenong. PS 8237 17 to 21 Scott Street, Dandenong. I am the Owners Corporation Manager of the above property, and as such I represent the interests of the 4 owners at the 6 strata units. The property adjoins 27 Scott Street, a property being developed by 27 Scott Proprietary Limited developer into a 15-level building. Construction of the building commenced in late 2021 and has since been beset with multiple delays. Recently, no work has been undertaken on this site for over 2 months. Despite multiple attempts to communicate with the developer and Promax Regional Developments, there has been no response as to when works may commence or be completed. To enable site works, Promax obtained a civil works permit on 15th of December 2022. This allowed steel bollards and screens to be installed on the roadway outside of the site. This removed 5 public car parks from outside of the businesses at 17 to 21 Scott Street. Further, it obstructs visibility of these businesses. The CWP expired on 15th of December 2023. We are advised by CGD that an extension or new CWP has not been granted. Given work on site has ceased, there is no current permit and the businesses adjoining the site are suffering. We request that CGD councillors demand from the developer and Promax a date when site works will recommence and a works scheduled to completion. Then, should no date and schedule be provided or the recommencement date is later than 1st of September, that Council issue an order to the developer and builder to remove all street structures so the 5 parking bays can again be used by the public. Okay, thank you for the question. If I could please ask our Acting Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Manivasa Gustavam, to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a civil development matter which the team has responded to David via email today.
Thank you. Officers report 4, item 4, Officers Reports Part 2, 4.1 Contracts, 4.1.1, 2324 to 27 Program Tree Pruning Services. Could I get a mover, please?
Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard.
Happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Are there any questions?
Just a question there.
Yes, Councillor.
Yes, sorry, I have a question.
Councillor Tan.
Thank you. My question just regarding to this, just to make sure it's clear. So through you, Mayor, through the relevant officer, is this just a tree on the nature strip or is it on the private land as well?
I will ask David Feist to respond if you could, please.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Tan. It refers to trees just on council land or council reserve. So pruning trees that are in close vicinity of power lines. So we need to make sure that we're maintaining that vegetation so there's no potential risk of any of those trees near those power lines. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is, we've all seen the trees that are so brutally pruned because of the requirements following Ash Wednesday. Can the council confirm that strategically the trees planted under power lines are smaller trees going forward, so that we don't have these large trees being brutally pruned in the way that they are?
David Vice, if you're happy to respond.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Councillor Garrard. Absolutely. So, in line with our revegetation works, in terms of the species, there's a different range of species that we can select for replanting of trees, and absolutely we consider that species when planting them under power lines, so we're not having to be there sort of hacking away at large trees in 10 years' time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.1.2, Natural Resource Management Parks Contract Extension. Can I get a mover, please?
Councillor Garrard.
Councillor Garrard.
That.
Thank you. Councillor Dark. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.1.3, Hard Waste Curbside Collection Services Contract Extension. Can I get a mover, please?
Happy to move it, Mayor.
Thank you.
Happy to second.
Councillor Milkovich, seconded by Councillor Mehmeti. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.1.4, Building Maintenance Service Contract Extension. Can I get a mover, please? Thank you. Councillor Garrard, can I get a seconder? Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition?
Indicate opposition, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dark. Councillor Garrard as the mover, please. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. I stand to support this motion. I understand there has been due diligence performed in awarding this contract, and that the contractors have met all of the requirements that the council has set, and has, in fact, scored most highly on their council criteria. So I will listen with great interest to the opposition points.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Councillor O'Reilly, please, as the seconder. You've got 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, a bit hard for me to... I mean, we've got our papers in front of us where everything's been gone through. Bit hard for me to talk to any objections when, up to this point, we haven't heard them prior to the meeting, Mayor. So I will sit and listen with interest to what the objections are. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Dark as the Speaker in opposition, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I rise to oppose this item on the agenda, and this comes off the back of a conversation I've had when most of the councillors were present in a council briefing session with questions that I raised regarding the capacity and capability of what at the time was Campaign Group to be able to deliver the significantly important contract that this is. This has to do with facilities maintenance and the maintenance services to this council, providing a significant amount of trades, the facilities that access, the works that are required to happen. And there were some issues and questions that I did raise. And at the time, the initial briefing came in saying that the Campaign Group was in the Campaign Group as itself, without even making councillors aware at the time that Campaign Group had basically been acquired by a whole other company based in Port Melbourne. I raised in the past that there were issues regarding that I had heard, and then I think it was common knowledge within certainly our facilities management sector that there were questions regarding the financial capacity, and I put that to the directors. The directors went off and came back with a significant amount of responses without actually answering the question at hand. A second part of that as well was that there has been, then in the packs provided to the councillors, additional information provided that there is, I suppose, the Night FM or the Campaign Group is a sound financial company, saying that they're fantastic and basically that they're being able to meet all the capabilities. I received emails from directors basically saying that there was issues and risks around what was being said forward, without actually still answering the fact regarding the financial capacity of Campaign Group. What I will not do is basically enter into a situation or enter into a contract where this council is put at risk. And I raised this multiple times. A 15-month agreement has been put forward to this council tonight to say that it requires 15 months to be able to put together a tender, which we already have a schedule of what is undertaken, to then be able to go back to market to ensure that these councils getting the best practice. The fact is, and look, I think there's clearly a discrepancy between the two. The reports that the councillors have all been provided here say that the campaign group is financially strong, yet on the other side, internally it seems that there are significant issues that haven't been addressed. And this is something that I've raised and I've continuously been disregarded, and whatever that is in my role as a councillor, that continuously comes up. But what I have got here, and this is one that came just to me recently, basically is an email from the Chief Executive Officer of Campaign Group raising significant concerns internally. The fact that they're retrenching staff, the fact that they're literally saying that there is that Campaign Group staff this year, that there are going to be no wage increases as the company is suffering a massive financial loss. So what I think needs to happen, I think the item needs to be deferred, because I think there needs to be a proper conversation had about what is the true financial capacity and capability of a contractor. Because two things have either happened here. Either the Chief Executive Officer of a company is saying to his staff that there are issues, and literally given that they are on the internal sides, that there are issues there, or two, that council officers have misled councillors in what is actually occurring with this significant contractor. And that is why I think the item needs to be deferred, because in this current state, I cannot support it.
Thank you, Councillor Dark.
Mayor?
Yes,
If this
Councillor
new
Mamedi.
information is correct, I suggest that I'd like to defer this item to the next council meeting with this new information. I haven't seen it before, I haven't heard it before. It's the first time I'm hearing about it. I would have liked to have seen it before this meeting, but unfortunately it hasn't been presented only until now. And if that's true, I think I'd like to move that this item is deferred to the next council meeting.
Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's certainly in light of what would seem to be very damning information. My question is, can we hear from the officer regarding the impact or implications of deferring this item on the timing of the continuation of the work? The other issue is, I just have a question also for Councillor Dark. We did hear your concerns. I understood there was a company, a campaign group, and that had been taken over by another company, and that there was reassurance provided by the officers that both of these companies were found to be financially sound. So your question about whether that was misleading, I think, can we put that to the officer, and can we also ask for the implications of deferring the item?
We'll just...
I know the question was put to me first.
Sure.
I'll just respond. I know if you have the original agenda on pages 95 and 96, I think it's marked as confidential. There is basically officer's report confirming what is what, and council records will show that I actually only literally just got these and printed it 4 minutes before the council meeting upstairs. So I think that this is what I've only just become aware of as well, and obviously given the significant issues, I think that a deferment is definitely the best situation.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to agree to a deferment. I would like to know what the implications of a deferment are.
We'll ask the officer to respond. So, Mr. Manivasa-Gasavam, if you could respond, please. Oh, sorry, Mr. Vice.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your question, Councillor Garrard. So in terms of deferring to the next council meeting, there wouldn't be any impact from that. This contract does come up later in the year in terms of the term of the services. There won't be any implications deferring for a further 2 weeks. In terms of the amendments or some of the requests and information coming through and what officers have looked at, we understand from council that the duration of the contract was a concern. So being a long-term contract, being potentially 9 years, including all extensions, was a concern. So that's why officers have gone away and actually looked at seeing what's the shortest time frame potentially. We could recommend awarding the extension, then to put council in a position where we can develop new specifications and go back out to market to look at how we can deliver our services better as well. And just in terms of the financial viability, I will just touch on, as part of our procurement processes here at council, whenever we go through a contract extension or evaluation process, we do go through what is a business profile and financial performance check. And as part of this contract extension, like we are now doing with all of our extensions, we go through that financial assessment through a third party independent as well, who's come back to us with the recommendations in the confidential section of that report, noting that financially that is sound. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Got a question. So just my reading of what was just said is that from the officer is that if this was deferred to the next meeting, then there will be an interruption of service. Could the officer please confirm that and what the duration of the interruption would most likely be?
Thanks, Councillor O'Reilly. Mr Vice, if you could respond, please.
Apologies for any confusion. Thank you for your question, Councillor. So no, there will be no disruption to service if it's deferred to the next council meeting. However, if it's deferred any further than that, for the new council, then there would be an interruption to our services. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, Councillor Garrard, as the mover, you've agreed to...
I'm very happy to defer.
Defer it, thank you. And Councillor O'Reilly, as the seconder, are you happy to defer it? Are there any further questions to that? Any opposition to the deferral? No? Perfect. Okay. We will defer that till the next council meeting. Thank you. Okay. Item 4.1.5, Electronic Surveillance and Security Services Contract Extension. Can I get a mover, please?
Happy to move that, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Garrard. Can I get a seconder, please?
Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions? I think I know where this is going. Is there any opposition?
Councillor Milkovich indicated
Thank
opposition.
you, Councillor Milkovich in opposition. Councillor Garrard as the mover, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm so glad I'm I'm the first mover on all these items. We have had concerns. We had concerns about this item in the last meeting, which is why we deferred it. We've had those concerns allayed by subsequent information provided by the relevant officers. I'm very satisfied with the information I was provided. So I will hand over to Councillor Milkovic to explain his concerns.
Thanks, Councillor Garrard. Councillor O'Reilly as the seconder, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this one has been discussed quite extensively before the council meeting, thankfully, to clarify some of the issues that Councillor Milkovich has raised. And my understanding is that in response to Councillor Milkovich's observations and concerns, that this particular contract, we have agreement in terms of increased monitoring, feedback on performance and evidence that the contract is being complied to, Mayor. So with all that taken into account, still would acknowledge Councillor Milkovich's concerns, which I'm sure he's going to raise shortly, but I believe they have been dealt with as best we can, practically and realistically. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Milkovich in opposition, please. 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. I rise to oppose this item on the same basis as I have last week, and that is that this contract has unfortunately shown not much regard for the contractual obligations towards the residents of this city through their negligence in reporting of the particular times with the locking of the gates in the particular location, which was in Dandenong North in Thatcham Park. I understand my council colleagues are maybe willing to forego all the concerns and, just in a pure, satisfaction to extend the contract to make sure that, that's been a slap on the wrist. However, I am quite concerned that we've had a situation that I have personally monitored of a number of months, which I did raise in late June, early July with the council officers. And my concerns still stand is that the particular gate at Thatcham Park, or a couple of gates at Thatcham Park, and I can't witness or judge for any other reserve, is that reported times differentiate by between 35 to up to 58 minutes from the latest time that they actually allowed. So not when they've actually reported it, but what they actually allow in their contract. On top of that, I've got the email here. I'm just going to refresh my memory a little bit, is that obviously we found, this is from one of the council officers, is that not in the concerns with EBN, we investigated why the gate at Tetron Park was closed but not secured with padlock. Upon speaking with the contractor, it is understood the lock was defective. So the actual contractor has admitted to the council officers that the lock was defective, and this was between the period of at least November when I started, or actually 4th of October when I started monitoring the situation, till we had a meeting in July. And at no point in time did this contractor actually thought, well, maybe we should call the council maintenance department or, for that matter, campaign group or anyone else in the council to say we've got a defective padlock. Not only the padlock was defective, but the gate could not be locked at all. They had no loop. It was just a chain that was going on like a little hook. So to me, that shows a lack of commitment from the contractor. It also shows the situation where, do they really care? Was this really what we signed up for? And just to go back on discrepancies of the time, I understand that some of this was explained by the tagging mechanisms or locking gates were removed and moved some 50 metres, 100 metres down the road in Tetron toilets because of the vandalism. Well, that's only about 30 seconds walk, let alone driving, like I said. And the photographic evidence that I've managed to gather, which I have matched up against the times recorded, which were provided to the council officers from the contractor, like I said, differentiate from a couple of minutes to up to 58 minutes. Not on every occasion, but to me, that just shows that they either didn't care or there was just no desire to fulfill their contractual agreements. And I have been elected to serve on this council to make sure that I and that we as a council deliver the best value to our residents, and I cannot, in a good faith, support a contractor or award a contract to a contractor that I have seen personally have not fulfilled their obligations under the contractual agreement with the council. So I cannot support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
This item. My apologies.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. We'll have a right of reply, please, Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And
my apologies if there was anyone else that wanted to speak to this item as well. Sorry, Councillor Garrard. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak for or against? Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I rise to echo the sentiment of Councillor Milkovich, and I was not present at the last council meeting or the previous CBS as well. So going off what I've got here as well, and through conversations I've had with a few councillors, the issue that I've got, I think, is that this is a significant contract. This is $1.8 million a year, exclusive of GST, particularly for the provision and protection of over 100 sites, including 15 reserves, 3 multi-storey car parks and 7 XLUs, and 35 public toilet venues as well. It's very, very important, given the issues that we've had in the past, that there are issues with, I suppose, the safety and security of our assets, the public toilets, and the issues that happen around that. And if there's not the adequate thing in place to security and risk protocols in place, I think that to get to the point where, as what Councillor Milkovich has just stated before, where there's been issues with the defective gate, nothing's been raised, and the issues at hand continuously keep going. This is one minor thing being a minor gate, and to me, Tetron Park is a minor issue in the scheme of things. My concern would be that if you've let one thing go, what else has happened over the other 100 plus sites that are maintained within the city of Greater Dandenong? And if you have a company that has taken the liberty where they've basically got to the point they're being almost, for lack of a better word, caught out, and at the same time still claiming the $1.8 million a year worth of costs for the council for the security, I think that there does need to be a revision in place. I think ultimately I don't know the exact process of getting a tender, but I do think that there does need to be the tender coming sooner rather than later, with the option of being able to basically make sure that we are getting the best value for money, because my concerns are, as I said, less about a park gate and more about a public toilet in Springvale or a public toilet in Noble Park, where potentially there's a bigger risk or something that we're not aware of happens as well. And that's an issue that I've got with the current contractor in place, given the issues at hand. So I do think that there does need to be, and this potentially could be a response from a director regarding potentially the time it takes to go to tender to make sure that we are getting the best value for ratepayer money as well.
If you could kindly respond, David Feist, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your question, Councillor Dark. So in terms of the contract term for this at the moment, so what's proposed is a 12-month extension. It's only that what would be proposed as a second out of potentially 3 extensions of this overall contract. So in terms of actually developing, once again, the specifications and looking at our services, typically we require up to 12 months to be able to do that. within this particular contract, I can hear obviously concerns from yourself and Councillor Milkovich as well around whether or not there's been incidents of negligence, or obviously there's been this one particular issue. How do we not know it's happening elsewhere? So understanding those concerns, what officers have done is actually had a look at the reports that are generated by the contractor, and these reports basically look at what incidents, or they're termed as incidents, but what incidents have they actually reported when they've patrolled sites and then acted on. And we've actually had a total of over 18,000 incidents over the course of the last 12 months that they've acted on. So some of that can be related to reporting graffiti damage, or where there's property damage, or in this instance we had over 1,627 reports of where doors and gates were unable to be secured. So in terms of the overall contract, council officers were satisfied that they were compliant with the contract, but obviously understanding there was this non-compliance, which since it had been reported, officers have followed up on. Since that as well, we've also introduced a new, well, not a new, but an enhanced process with the reporting from the contractor. So we do get nightly reports from them and the work they've completed. That now includes time-stamped photos just to demonstrate how those sites are secured as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Feist. Right of reply, Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thank Councillors Milojevic and Milkovic and Dark for their concern about this contract. And Councillor Dark was not at the last meeting, but he would have heard I also raised the same question. And the same issue was also reported to me. And like you, my question was, this may be one incident, but what is the overall system that you have in place to review the performance of this contractor? And subsequently, the officers have come back, as you've heard, with a comprehensive process of review and monitoring. And whilst I understand that this incident is not up to standard, that there is a system in place at the moment to make sure that there is a monitoring and oversight process. So in light of that, and in light of the short-term nature of this, I am satisfied that we can confidently approve this, and that the review system is robust, and that in the entire scheme of things, and I think what we've had 22,000, was it 22,000 incidents of report?
Over 18,000, yeah.
Yeah. So in the scheme of things, I think that we can be very confident that the council has this in hand, and that and as both councillors pointed out, this really is a very important issue of security. I think we can be satisfied that we are well served by this contractor, and we can certainly be satisfied that the council is adequately monitoring this at this stage.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. We'll put it to a vote now. So could I please have a show of hands of those that are in favour of the motion, please? Councillor Trong, Councillor Dan, Councillor O'Reilly, Councillor Garrard, Councillor Tan, Councillor Deputy Mayor Lim, Councillor Mehmeti, Councillor Dark, and all those against, and myself for Councillor Formoso. All those against, Councillor Milkovich. That item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.2, Policy and Strategy. 4.2.1, Climate Change Community Engagement and Mobilisation Plan 2024 to 2029. Councillor Garrard.
Madam Mayor, I stand to request that we defer this item. I think there are considerable problems with this item that cannot be resolved quickly, and my request, in light of the many issues that have arisen from this item, that we do defer this for further work and bring it back for the new council.
Happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti as the seconder. Are there any questions to the deferral? Is there any opposition to the deferral? No? Great. That deferral motion is carried. Thank you. Item 4.2.2, continued funding contribution for the Alliance for Gambling Reform. Can I get a mover, please?
Councillor Lim.
Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly, seconded by Councillor Deputy Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Garrard.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to thank all councillors for supporting this item. As we know, in the city of Greater Dandenong, from electronic gaming machines, that we lose over $100 million a year, and we are one of the poorest local government areas in the state. We also know that that figure represents one of the highest rates of gambling losses per adult in Victoria. And we also know that residents of Greater City of Dandenong have lost about $150 million in addition in other forms of gambling, bringing the total annual gambling losses to around $285 million, which translates to about $2,000 per adult, which is extraordinary. And that is money coming out of, support for children, out of their education, out of their support. It is money that it is losses that bring misery to people's lives, that contribute to significant mental health issues. It is highly detrimental to our community, and it is right that we continue to support the Gambling Alliance that continues to push back, particularly at this time, looking for things like bans on advertising. So it is right and proper that we are continuing to support the Gambling Alliance.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Just continuing on that, there's some good and bad news with the gambling situation in Victoria. This council has been a steadfast, if not an initiator of this gambling group, which comprises several councils. And the good news is that we have seen some traction by the Victorian government in terms of increasing gambling safety. Councillor Garrard has already mentioned that the City of Greater Dandenong is one of the lowest socio-economic communities and also one of the highest gambling communities in Victoria, if not Australia. And what we have been on about with gambling reform is not stopping people gambling for entertainment purposes, but to add somewhat of a seatbelt, if you like, if you're going to use a driving metaphor, a seatbelt to gambling so that those where their gambling would impinge on themselves or their family's financial security have some guardrails to stop them from going too far. And that's what we've been looking for with the Gambling Alliance. Good news is making traction with some potential laws from the Victorian government. But as Councillor Garrard said, still more to do. We see it around at different pokies venues in the city of Greater Dandenong. And I'm glad that Council has seen the value in continuing this campaign. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. I echo all of those sentiments, and I think we are the fourth highest number in any Victorian municipality for the amount of gambling machines that we have in operation, which is really quite staggering. Item 4.2.3, Plan for Victoria submission. If I could have a mover, please.
Councillor Dan to move.
Thank you, Councillor Dan and Councillor Garrard as a seconder. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Garrard.
on behalf of the City of Greater Dandenong. The submission calls for more affordable housing and more choice of housing and a greater mix of housing, which is very important for our area, particularly around affordable housing, as we have the highest level of homelessness and the highest level of mortgage distress sales. It also calls for equity of jobs, emphasising the importance of the Dandenong South National Employment and Innovation Cluster for business expansion, and it calls for the essential infrastructure to support that expansion. It also emphasises the need for thriving and livable suburbs and suggests that greater emphasis and support should be given to the Revitalisation Centre of Dandenong project, advocating for new facilities such as universities and such as hospitals, also making local and accessible services. It also calls for aggressive statewide actions on emissions reduction and for higher targets around tree canopy, which we know is going to be very important. Finally, it seeks to more information on the target of 57,000 new dwellings that we have been given and how that target could possibly be implemented, given that it is so beyond the scope of the council at this stage. So I congratulate the officers, and I think it is a very, very positive and robust submission that has been put in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, if we list the top challenges facing our community in Greater Dandenong, I would go with cost of living, community safety, and housing supply. And to talk about housing supply generally, it is the biggest impact on people's budgets and disposable incomes, those people in particular being mortgage holders and renters. And what we're asking for in Greater Dandenong is our fair share of affordable housing. I think that will bring the greatest benefit to our residents, and it's something that we really need to catch up on, and I think this report strongly requests it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor O'Reilly. Item 4.2.4, LGBTIQA+ Advisory Committee Terms of Reference. Can I get a move up, please?
Councillor Garrett.
Thank you. Seconder, please.
Councillor Dan.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Councillor Garrett.
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to acknowledge that one of the instigators of this advisory committee is here tonight, so it is wonderful that the community get to see that finally, after all this time, after 4 years, we finally have our advisory committee, and kudos to the community that have pushed so hard and so constantly for this, and well done also to the officers that have done this so quickly and so well, and it's a very proud day, actually, that we stand here and see the commencement of this process.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard, and thank you to Marjan Hajari, who did expedite that. Well done. Thank you for doing that so promptly. Item 4.3, Other. 4.3.1, Dandenong Community Hub Project Update. Could I get a move up, please?
Councillor Garrard.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Garrard, seconded by Councillor Mehmedi. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you.
Mayor.
Councillor Garrard.
Mayor, we have some very happy people in the audience, in the gallery here tonight, and this is a significant moment. We we came close to losing the hub in its entirety. We have fought back, the community have fought back, and we are back to a stage where it's still on the table. We still have the design money there. We still significantly have agreement that the market precinct plan will occur concurrently. Therefore, we do not have to wait until the completion of the market precinct plan, which I thank the officers for, that we will complete the engineering aspects that the architects require by the end of this year, and we will see a recommencement of the co-design process early in 2025, which is really, really important and significant. And again, well done to the community who have turned up week after week and fought hard, tooth and nail, to keep this alive. So we're still hanging in there. We are still, we still have a plan in play. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Councillor Mehmeti.
Thank you. It's pleasing to stand here tonight that this community hub is still alive. We promised our community in 2020 that we'll deliver them a community hub. From this council, there's been sabotage all along, which is absolutely terrible for our community who believe that they require a community hub. We have a community hub in nearly every suburb in Greater Dandenong except Dandenong. This community has been asking for so long. This is alive. The money that we put in the budget, $1.7 million to finish the co-design and integrated intergenerational community hub is what the community want, and that's what we have to deliver. So I thank my fellow councillors for supporting tonight's decision unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks from the gallery. Thank you. Item 4.3.2, report on matters discussed at council briefing sessions and pre-council meetings. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Deputy Lim. Can I get a seconder, please?
Seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Can I just have quiet in the gallery, please? Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.3.3, list of registered correspondence to Mayor and councillors. Can I get a mover, please?
Happy to move, Councillor Tan.
Councillor Trong and Councillor Tan as the seconder. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.3.4, draft minutes of Disability Advisory Committee meeting, 17th of June 2024. Can I get a mover, please?
Happy to move, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Seconder? Can I get a mover, please, councillors? Seconder, sorry. Councillor O'Reilly, thank you. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.3.5, draft minutes of Positive Ageing Advisory Committee meeting, 20th of June 2024.
To move.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Deputy Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you very much. Item 4.3.6, draft minutes of Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee meeting, 27th of June 2024. Can I get a mover, please?
Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Can I get a seconder, please?
Please a second.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. 5, notices of motion. 5.1, notice of motion number 41, clarification of council's position on the South East Sports Hub sesh. Yes,
Yep.
Deputy
Madam
Mayor,
Mayor,
Councillor
I
Lim.
have an alternate motion for this item, please. That this item is be withdrawn under the section 4.8.3 of the council's governance rule. Thanks.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
Clarification, sorry, apologies. What was the alternate or amendment, or sorry, what was it?
Withdrawing the item.
Oh, withdrawing the item?
Yes.
And sorry, just for clarification, under what part of withdrawing the item? Which?
Can you read it out, please?
Yep, under section 4.8.3 of council governance rule.
Can I get a seconder, please?
Sorry,
Seconder.
I need further I think, like Councillor Duck, we need further clarification. What is that section, and why would it call for withdrawal?
Just to Ms Trimble, the Manager of Legal and Risk. Yes, Governance, Legal and Risk. If we could please just get clarification of what that item is of the governance rules, please.
Yep. Just want to clarify that because of despite what was said in the previous mayoral letter of support, council has not formally considered position on this matter. Thanks.
Yep. Well, one moment, Deputy Mayor. We're just going to get that. Excuse
Mayor,
me,
I'd like to
Councillor
challenge that.
Garrard, 1 second. If you could please respond.
Certainly, through you, Chair.
Thank you.
To Councillor Dark. Under Council's governance rules, section 4.8.3, withdrawing motion. So before any motion is put to the vote, it may be withdrawn by the leave of council or by a resolution of council, which is what Councillor Lim is doing.
Thank you.
Question?
Seconding. Question, Councillor Councillor Milkovich. Where is Councillor Mehmeti?
Milosevic Mehmeti. Like a chameleon. On the basis of what is this being proposed for withdrawal? That's what I'd like to know. Thank you, Mayor.
Can you please respond, Councillor Lim?
Repeat again. Despite what said in the previous mayoral letter of support, council has not formally considered a position on this matter. Thanks.
Thank you.
Med, just through you, Med, to the mover of the alternate. I just wanted the clarification. I'm not necessarily against supporting the withdrawal of the motion if I understand the grounds behind it. Is there a risk? Because I believe Councillor Tan and Councillor O'Reilly have said something to do with potentially being a risk to council. Some of that, if I obviously have missed some.
It's just to dismiss the motion altogether, which under the governance you can. Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted clarification. So the governance rules section that was mentioned, could I get governance officer's opinion on how that would apply to the to the motion that's in the agenda paper? Thank you, Mayor.
Sure, we'll ask Ms Trimble to read that out again.
Under the current governance rules, under that section 4.8.3, any motion, before any motion is voted on, it may be withdrawn by the resolution of council.
Thank you for that. So, Mayor, I'm still not understanding the rationale. I understand that rule means that we can withdraw motions. It just says generally we can withdraw any motions. Okay, understood that. But I'm not understanding from the mover the rationale for actually seeking to withdraw the motion. So if I could get further clarification on that, apart from something that, like, there's been a mayor's letter in the past and stuff. So if I could get that clarified, please, Mayor.
Yep. Okay. If we could just get you to explain that further, and we also need a seconder as well. So, do we have a seconder for that?
I'm happy to second on the proviso of the withdrawal, on the proviso, or more so for a deferment, because I have got significant concerns. If I've got two councillors echoing opposite the chamber that there are potentially significant legal consequences regarding this, Councillor O'Reilly and Tan, who are now actually, I think that there needs to be some clarification on what exactly is being put forward rather than just a general withdrawal.
1 second. All right, so what we need to do is we've got the mover as Councillor Deputy Lim. If we can get a seconder for this withdrawal. If there is no
Can
seconder.
I ask a question of process?
Yes, Councillor Garrett.
Given that the CEO has approved this notice of motion, meaning that it has been reviewed for any concerns around legality or any issues around governance, and the CEO has approved this, my question is, why is this now being suggested? Why is it being suggested that there are legal issues when the CEO has absolutely cleared this motion, and there are no legal risks, there are no implications for any councillor here tonight? And so my question is, why is it being touted, why is it being said there are legal risks, when in fact this has been cleared by governance? That is my question.
Thank you for that question, Councillor Garrard. And again, under the under the governance rules, we have the option of being able to bring that into play. But we'll ask Mr. Manivanagasagasam to.
So just a point of clarification, just with regards to what Councillor Garrett is saying, and if the Chief Executive Officer has overseen it, I'm not sure what the internal working system is, particularly in terms of whether each motion is run through a legal standpoint of potential risk. But Winky Pop is a significantly important thing, an important part of case law to do with town planning applications or planning of or the rezoning of significant sites as well.
Yes.
And not that I'm in support of or against the project in one way or form or the other, but I am very, very, very apprehensive given the potential risk of enacting Winky Pop and whatever else there is as well. And especially if there's then a debate, as what Councillor Mehmeti is saying as well.
Can I seek to ask another question?
One moment. We'll just get some clarification from Mr. Manivanagasavam, and then we'll go back to you, Councillor Garrett.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I will ask Mr. Foley to sort of provide that, our process and how the notice of motions comes into the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Foley, please. And if we could just get those doors shut, please, because I'm having difficulty hearing.
The notice. Notices of motion are reviewed internally and signed off by the CEO. I can't comment in terms of whether or not we would have received legal advice on this particular matter or not.
Thank you. Councillor Garrard.
My discussions with the CEO in terms of this notice of motion was that it was completely cleared of any issues or any concerns on her part, because this is not actually discussing anything. It is simply stating fact. So the CEO was completely comfortable, otherwise she would not have signed off on this. There is no risk, there are no issues, we are not debating anything, we are simply stating facts.
Do we have a seconder for the withdrawal? I've got a mover. Do I have a seconder for the withdrawal? Okay. So that motion has lapsed due to the lack of a seconder.
I'd like to move that this be deferred to the next council meeting, just to seek some further clarification.
Point of order. The motion has not been. There has been no mover of the motion, so we cannot go for a deferral until.
We haven't moved that. So just one moment. One moment. Okay, so we don't have a seconder for the removal of the withdrawal.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move an amendment to the notice of motion.
What's the amendment?
I would move that only item 1 remains and we delete item 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6.
Madam Mayor, there has been no mover, so there can be no. There is no one to approve the amendment.
We can move that for
Can
an
we,
alternate. So
I'm
one
happy
moment,
to move this motion and then
Councillor Garrard,
consider.
take a seat. One moment. So we've got a mover for Councillor Mehmeti with the amendment to remove 2 to 6 of the motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dark as a seconder. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? Councillor Garrard in opposition. Can I get Councillor Mehmeti as the mover, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I've thought about this item for a couple of days. I was going to abstain to this, but I don't think an abstention is good or relevant to any debate. I've thought how I'll debate this item. If I debated it, I could be considered as a winky pop in the future. I might say something for or against the development. So I think to protect councils and protect this council, I think by moving just item 1 clearly says, confirms that it currently does not have an official stance on the South East Sports Hub, as no formal proposal was submitted to the council for review, and to date, no report submitted to council for consideration. And that should be our stance, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Mehmeti. So we'll ask Councillor Dark as the seconder for that amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, this is a very item to tread very, very carefully. I believe, and look, I think that there has been a lot of correspondence with a lot of the community clubs, between the developer, with the Keysborough Golf Club, and with other stakeholders as well. And I think that there are obviously a lot of interest in achieving what the best outcomes for the community are at the moment. In lieu of not having anything to actually potentially review, to be able to vote on, to be able to run with, without having anything to look at, without having anything, somewhat flying blind on the project. I think every person that lives potentially within Keysborough, or I'm not sure how it's being advertised, has seen posts. I know the Keysborough Soccer Club obviously have taken a standpoint on it within my ward, and I know that there's been a lot of correspondence and conversations had, because people have asked me about a leaflet drop they've received, and I am not across anything either. So it's very, very hard to be able to make any sort of decision or take any sort of stance or point of view on the item as it is. And certainly I think that any future decision that does come to the council, if I'm not voted out the election or if I'm re-elected, then, and the same thing with any other councillor as well, you want to be able to ensure that you're able to understand all the items and vote according to what is the best parts of the municipality. So I think that given the notice of motion with the amendment here, that council does not currently have an official stance, that no formal proposal has been submitted, and to date no report has been submitted to council, suits an equitable position at this current minute.
Thank you, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Just would like to add one more word.
Just one moment, Councillor Deputy Mayor Lim. We'll just ask Councillor Garrard in opposition, and then I'll give you a moment to speak. So, Councillor Garrard, you have 4 minutes to speak in opposition of the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's very curious, isn't it, that the councillors do not want to support the other items in this motion, because all of the items in this motion, 1 right through to 5 and 6, are simply stating fact. The facts are this: that promoters of the South East Sporting Hub dropped a promotional pamphlet into every house dwelling in the my ward of Keysborough South. On that pamphlet had the logo of the Dandenong Council. It had a QR code to a website which provided extensive information that inferred that the council was a strong supporter of the SESH, and that it had a letter from a previous mayor which appeared to represent the council's position supporting this. None of that is correct. All we are doing is correcting the record. The council has no position. The council did not authorise the use of the logo. The council did not authorise that the information provided on the website, which which showed that the council supported this, did not authorise that. That was not provided by council. The problem here is that residents in my ward rang me in distress because their lives are significantly impacted by this development, and they wanted clarification about why the council was supporting this and why we had made the decision to support something that, in fact, doesn't actually exist. In fact, other than being a conceptual design, this sporting hub does not exist. There are no plans. There has been no application. There has been no proposal. Any supposed environmental impacts assessments have not been provided to council. This does not exist. And so the concern that has been caused to the residents of my ward requires that the council clarifies its position. All we are doing is clarifying our position. At this stage, we have not provided support. At this stage, we have not authorised a logo. At this stage, we have no information, none, zip, nada about this. This is a fabrication. It does not exist at this stage. And therefore, the residents can be reassured that the council is not actively positioning this. And I think that councillors should be concerned that if developers are using our logo and purporting that we support developments when we don't, and people trust that, and people rely on the conferred authority by the council supporting a development and make decisions based on that, we should all be concerned about that, because that is what has happened here. And it is concerning to me that councillors here are not concerned about that. It is our reputation. It has significant consequences to the lives of the people in my ward. And what we need to do is be open and transparent and honest. And I urge all of the councillors to do the right thing and simply state the facts listed from 1 to 6, which is saying this doesn't exist. We do not support something that doesn't, in terms of being put to the council, does not exist.
Thanks, Councillor Garrett. And my apologies, Deputy Councillor Lim, you wanted to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Just this sort of item, when I look into it, like Councillor Mameti already mentioned, Councillor Doug already mentioned, I just add one more point. This sort of issue is we need to get further legal advice because we don't have any, clearly on the top here, no formal proposal was submitted to the council for review. And up to now, no report submitted to the council of consideration at all. That's what I said. We have to, move this. We don't support this motion at this stage. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further speakers to the amendment, please? Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I think we're all on the same tram, but we're on different carriages, Mayor, because the movers of this motion want to confirm that Council currently does not have an official stance on the South East Sports Hub, but for some reason they want to strike out that the South East Sports Hub website takes our logo off their website, off the website, as a supporter. So, Mayor, if you Google South East Sports Hub now, the supporters page, who's there halfway down the page? City of Greater Dandenong. So why would we not request the South East Sports Hub to take that off if, as the movers of this alternate, say that council does not have an official stance? So if we're talking about any potential Winky Pop Jeopardy situation, then it would be exactly that this council does not request that the South East Sports Hub take our logo off their website listed as an official supporter. So as Councillor Garrard said, all we're doing is not taking a position on this. We're not making any judgments on the merits of a future proposal. A future proposal may or may not be supported by this council, but the way that it stands currently and is sort of indicated by some of the different statements made by councillors during this debate, there is some confusion. The best way to resolve that confusion is not to pass this alternate, but to pass the motion in its entirety, which will reset the council's position in the eyes of the public so that a future council can make a decision as per under the Local Government Act, taking into account all facts leading up to the decision, as Councillor Lim said. So unless Council wants to imply that it still, supports it a little bit, so, we won't pass all the 6 points, we'll just pass one of them. Unless we want to do that, I would ask councillors not to support the alternate motion and foreshadow that the full motion will be moved if the alternate motion fails. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, anyone else that would like to speak to this? Councillor Mehdi?
We can just get some clarifications. Can I also add, put number 5 back in? Sorry, am I able to do that? 1 and 5. 5 is a request that it does not authorise the use of the Greater Dandenong City Council logo by the promoters of SESH and seeks that it be removed immediately from all SESH promotional materials, including pamphlets, websites and social media. If the seconder is happy with that, I would like to move that amendment.
All right, so we are now moving another amendment, which is to have 1 and 5.
Mayor, can I seek clarification? Is this a new amendment or is this amendment on the amendment? I'm not sure where we're at.
Alternate to the amendment. So keep
it's amendment on the alternate.
Amendment on the alternate, which is to keep 1 and 5. And so the mover as Councillor Mehmeti and the seconder, Councillor Dark, are you happy with that?
Mayor, can I just seek clarification? I'm just trying to get understanding of this as well. So the use of the logo, well, I would imagine, must have had some level of authorisation somewhere along the schematics before, or was it just copied and pasted and just added to it as well? Or is there actually, has the council in some way, shape or form, because there's a lot of reference here that's quite vague in the other items that the previous mayor's in support and a former mayor's letter and former mayors, I don't know who the former mayors are, but when it comes to what has been said, what the mayors have then put on the letter and what the council position has taken, whether potentially a council officer or some sort of consent was given, because this is sort of like akin to me going and taking the Greater Dandenong logo and then using it to promote my business.
Exactly.
You just don't do it unless you're given consent to do it. I just want to get some understanding whether...
Excuse me, Councillor Garrett, we'll just ask Mr Manivasa Gasavam to respond to Councillor Dark first and then we'll get to you. So if you could please respond.
Thank you, Mayor. We can confirm that we haven't given any specific authorization to use our logo. However, we have provided a response to the request of a general nature of supporting a sporting facility. That's the letter was given. There's no authorization given to use our logo.
Thanks. So So just to for clarification, I'm starting to get very confused, and it's rare that this happens. So we gave a letter of support to a project, a gentle letter, but nonetheless still a letter of support, or a general letter of some sort of akin of support for a project, and then obviously the interpretation of providing whatever was in the contents of that letter, then obviously led to them believing the approval of the use of the logo. No, Councillor Garrard, sorry, no, Councillor Garrard's.
Thank you. Can I provide some clarification? Because we were given information by the CEO at the last meeting that, in fact, the letter by the previous mayor was wrongly provided, that it misrepresented the council's position because the council itself and the officers it's never been put to them. So the mayor should not have written that letter, and the CEO confirmed in the last meeting that was inappropriately written because a mayor does not act as an individual. The mayor acts reflecting the position of the council or whether there has been a application approved.
We'll just
So the CEO confirmed that was, and we can go back in the minutes, and I'm happy to wait, because the CEO confirmed that was inappropriately provided.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. We'll just ask Mr Manivasa Gasavam to respond, please.
Yes, thanks for that. So, yes, so we can have a look at that minutes, but what the process has, we have sort of since then we had to look at number of options, and the mayor's office not work alone, they have, there's a process go through those things. Yes, this letter was given as part of the general support to the project, not for the specific details, but definitely the logos is not given permission to use our logo.
Okay, thank you. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the seconder. Councillor Dark, are you happy to keep the amendment with 115?
I'm not. And I'm not because there is clearly a lot more information that has gone on beforehand that has got me very, very, very uneasy about what has been committed to by previous mayors or mayors, albeit whether they're acting on their official capacity as the mayor or not. If it's on their letterhead and they've signed it, it's what they're put forward. And I'm very uneasy about what exactly has been committed to and what meetings have taken place. And I know, I think that there's a whole lot more that is not being put here. And looking at what Councillor Garrett has put forward in terms of the items that are here, I'm starting to form the point of view that potentially the substantive original motion is actually what is best to be put forward. Because if there has been gentle conversations being had between council officers, senior council officers and other groups, if there's then been letters being supported by a mayor, then clearly there's more in that background as well that is then being said as well. Because if I requested a letter from the mayor on their letterhead to be signed, there has to be some level of information put beforehand. Otherwise, you're committing to something you don't know anything that's there. Amongst it as well, that obviously there seems to be two mayors, or a former and a previous mayor. What the difference there is, I'm not sure. But I think that then that there is a significant amount of issues that are being put forward here. The fact that all of a sudden the council also has the interpretation of being able to manage a 70-hectare facility, what grounds that was put forward, what costings, what financials that would be. To manage 70 hectares is not cheap, and you could talk to the city of Casey about Casey Fields and the millions of dollars that costs a year, and potentially what the cost of that is as well. I don't want to keep tweaking a motion and then having it withdrawn and then amending it and then alternating and amending it, and it just ends up something that makes zero sense, and it looks like there's significant issues with it. I think potentially either a deferment is in place or the original substantive motion should be put forward, because I'm not supportive of amending and alternating an amendment.
Councillor. Okay, so we'll ask Councillor Mehmedi if you're happy for deferment of the original substantive.
I'd like to move, and of Councillor Mehmedi as well, a deferment. Of the whole thing, because I want to see what letters have been signed by what mayors, what directors have had what meetings, what information is there as well, what has been committed about the potential management of a site. Now, this is virulent stuff at the moment, but until we see what's what and what's happened, I feel like I'm getting 25% of a whole pie of what information I need to know to be able to make a decision on an item, and I'm flying somewhat blind. So I think a deferment would be the best possible outcome at the moment.
Okay, so that we're clear now, we've got a mover for the deferment, which is Councillor Dark. Do we have a seconder? Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Mayor, could I get governance advice? My understanding of the current situation is that an alternate was started to be moved, and then the deferment appears to be to defer the alternate motion. Now, my understanding of our governance rules means that the alternate motion can be deferred, but the substantive motion, as it appears in the agenda paper, can still be moved, even if that deferment succeeded. That is my understanding, Mayor. I think on the balance of views and opinions, the best way to resolve this situation, Mayor, is that the original motion in the agenda paper is moved and councillors decide upon that. Thank you, Mayor.
Clarification.
Okay.
Clarification. I still want to move item 1 and 5. I'm the mover. I don't think there's any support from Councillor Dark. Is there any other support from somebody else? Can we continue
I'll second it.
with my alternate motion?
Okay. I don't have enough paper for this. All right. So Councillor Mehmeti still to move item 1 and 5. We've got Councillor Tan, who is seconding that amendment. And now I need any questions? Any opposition?
Indicating opposition.
Councillor Milkovich in opposition. So, Councillor Mehmeti, if I
Thank
could
you, Mayor.
ask you to move
All I'm trying to do is
speaking.
protect councillors and council. I've never, ever been asked to vote on something that we don't have in front of us. This could be all airy-fairy. We might not ever get an application. And that's why I just want to make sure that we let the community know by item 1, which says confirms that it currently does not have an official stance on the South East Sports Hub, as no formal proposal was submitted to the council for review, and to date no report submitted to council for consideration. And after listening to a debate from Councillor O'Reilly, saying that we all should be on the same carriage, moving the same way forward, made quite sense when we haven't given permission for them to use our logo, and by item 5 says that we request that it does not authorise the use of the Greater Dandenong City Council logo by the promotes of the SESH, and seeks that it be removed immediately from all SESH promotional materials, including pamphlets, websites and social media. Like anyone, if they don't have permission to use our logo, well, they're in the same boat. They should not also be able to use our logo. I'm just in consideration of the Winky Pop and making debate, and whether you like it or you don't like it, I'm just protecting the councillors and council for something that might come in the future. I think this is quite clearly says to our community that there is no application on the table. This is our stance, and this is where we're at. And if there's an application in the future, we then will debate it and whatever needs to be done at a future meeting, and that's where it should all end, because I think we're open for, maybe half of these councillors, if they get re-elected, probably won't be able to vote on this application, because I'm sure this will come up in the future, and every word we've said here tonight
just a point of order.
Councillor Mehmeti, thank you. Councillor
Can I
Garrett?
seek clarification from governance that Councillor Mehmeti is saying there is risk of Winky Pop? My understanding from my discussions with the CEO, there is no risk. Can we please clarify that point? Because it's influential.
Point of order again. My point of order is that not at the moment, but if we actually get into debate and the councillor either is for or against this, then it's definitely a Winky Pop if councillors speak in favour or against this item. And it's quite clearly be able to see from debate.
But could we have a ruling on point of order from Councillor Garrard, please, before we continue with the debate on points of order? I think it needs to be in governance rules. It has to be clearly stated that the point of order is either carried or not.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. With your point of order, Councillor Garrard. No, it's very unclear. So, just one moment, Councillor Garrard, we're just getting clarification. Yeah. Councillor Garrett, we just think we might need to get you to reword your point of order question, please. Your question, some
So
clarification.
my point of order question is on the grounds of a procedural question, because the CEO has approved this as being, from a governance point of view, as not having any risk of Winklepop or any risk of any issue in terms of any risky legal issues. This has been approved as not having any of this risk, and yet we are hearing this from Councillor Mehmeti. So it is a procedural point of order that I'm putting to you.
Yeah, I think that would be best. Thanks,
what I was
Councillor
saying
Mehmeti.
was, council and councils at our risk, if they entering a further debate on this item where we don't have an application on a future application. So you could easily make some comments that could implicate you in Winklepops in future. That's all I said. So councils need to be aware. That's all I said. That you can easily say something in a debate that could easily be considered Winklepop in the future. So I'm just saying to councils, be careful what you say, because it could implicate you in the future. That's all I said.
Mayor,
Yes, Councillor.
just to reassert, I would like to move both the deferment of this and then obviously of the alternate and deferment of the original as well. Whilst looking at the website here, and as I said before, that there was additional information.
Sorry, Councillor Duck, which website?
The SESH
Oh,
website.
okay. Yep, thank you.
It states here that at the council meeting on Monday, the 12th of August, it was claimed that organisers of the SESH campaign had used council's logo without authorisation to demonstrate support for the project. In 2022, SESH supporters worked for many months through the appropriate channels to obtain a letter of support from CGD on council letterhead. It was supplied by council with the signature of the then Mayor, Jim Mehmeti, and then updated shortly again with the details of new Mayor, Eden Foster. Obviously, given the information that's all here and the fact that there's still a lot more information on what needs to be teased out, I really don't think any council's in a position to make any sort of decision tonight until we further understand exactly what has been discussed, what is being said and what is going further forward. Because there's obviously a lot of correspondence with a project of this size as well, and a lot at stake. And I think that the best thing to do at the moment is, given that we're in a public council meeting, is to defer the item to be able to have it registered, ready to go for the next ordinary council meeting, so that we can have the questions that we've got raised.
Madam Mayor, I've got a question on the deferment.
Not if we've moved to deferment.
He's moving another motion on top of the motion.
So, okay, can we...
I move that the item be deferred until the next council meeting.
Okay,
in
thank
14 days.
All right. Do you have a seconder?
Happy to second.
I'm happy to support
second.
deferment. If I can be reassured, it comes back. We only have one meeting left, so it must come back then.
Okay.
And I think it's really good to clarify, where is the line where mayors are writing letters supporting things that councils have not considered? We really need to look at why it is that we have two mayors that have stated a position that has never been supported by council. So we have bigger issues, perhaps. I'm happy for councillors, if they want to defer it, to explore those issues and see if they want further clarification. But it is very concerning that we have mayors stating positions that are not supported by councillors. It's extremely concerning. So I'm very happy to support the deferment.
Okay, great. So we're getting somewhere. So we have got Councillor Dark as the mover for the deferment in 14 days, so for our next council meeting. We've got Councillor Garrard that's seconding that deferment. Any questions?
What I would bring him back to council, because what I would like been on this council, we've had many briefing meetings over the last decade. Will all information over the last decade bring to the report? Because it's no good just bringing back a few letters. You need to bring back all correspondence over the last decade about this sports hub, because you can't just bring back bits and pieces what everybody wants to see. You've got to bring back everything on the table. So what we've done over the last decade will lead to where our position has been, not from the council officers, what council officers have gone and done, what work they've done. Councillors need to know exactly the history about this. We can't just vote on things like put a few items here and a notice of motion. You need to bring back a proper report with all the information.
One moment. Okay, so I think that's noted, Councillor Mehmeti. What we will do is have the...
Can I want to oppose what Councillor Mehmeti is saying on the grounds that a council makes decisions when it votes. We have never voted on this. So it's not on discussions, and it's not on background conversations. It's not on who has been chatting to who. It's not on what rogue mayors have been writing.
Okay, Councillor Garrett, I'm going to ask you to sit down now. Councillor Garrett, I'm going to ask you to sit down now. Now, what we're going to do is deal with what we have right now. We've got the deferment to be brought back to next council meeting moved by Councillor Dark. We've got Councillor Garrard that's seconded. Councillor Mehmeti, your question in terms of having an officer's report brought back to us by the 2nd of September at the CBS at the briefing session, that's noted and that will occur. Now I would like to know if there's any other further questions in regards to that deferment. Councillor Garrard.
I want to know what the relevance of a report is, because that obviously will delay things. What conversations happened and what has gone before has no relevance.
Okay, Councillor Garrard, I'm just going to stop you there.
No, I just want the motion brought back
It's going...
And I think that's what Councillor... Can we clarify with Councillor Dark?
Councillor Dark.
The point of the deferment is to get all the information at hand. And I've been on council 8 of the 10 supposed years, and certainly potentially 2 years before I was elected, it could have, but certainly has not come up in my term on council. But what I would like to have is all the information.
Point of order.
Yeah. What?
Councillor Mehmeti.
Has had briefing sessions and in the last 8 years, so he's saying it incorrectly that he's never even been briefed on this.
Councillor Dark, did you want to clarify in terms of you've never been briefed on this, or you've never
been briefed on the South East Sports Hub or anything? I would be distinctly remember if I had been briefed on it. And Summerfield was before I was on council. What I do think, and what I'm happy to, in a bid to...
Sorry, could we get a ruling on point of order from Councillor Mehmeti, please? Thank you, Mayor.
What I'd like to do is, if we move it, the amendment that the item be discussed on the CBS of the 2nd of September to come to the council meeting in 14 days on the 9th of September, that would then allow, I hope Councillor Mehmeti's concerns that the council officers can get everything for a CBS for one Monday.
I'm very happy to support
7 days after that, at the next council meeting, being the 9th, we can then have...
I agree. Okay, that's
suitable.
Okay. So we're all in agreement with that. That makes sense. Thank you very much. I'll restate it one more time. We're deferring this notice of motion until by Councillor, the mover is Councillor Dark, the seconder Councillor Garrard. We're going to bring this to the next council meeting. We're going to have a discussion brought to us on the 2nd of September at our pre-council meeting. Briefing session. Are there any further questions to that? Is there any opposition to that? Councillor O'Reilly, in opposition of the deferment. So, can we please go back to Councillor Dark as the mover?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, the item which I've moved is for a deferment. Obviously, given there are a lot of questions about it, And I think that there are a lot of questions and still information needs to come back before all of the councillors, before we can take a position or councillors can vote on the item that's there. I think at any one time, the information that's there and what is currently before us, amongst other bits and pieces, is not the full picture. And I think in the best interest of all councillors being able to be informed of what is there, that the item be deferred until obviously the 9th with the second briefing.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor Dark. Councillor Garrard as the seconder for the deferment.
If councillors genuinely have questions, I think it's always good practice to allay their concerns. And I have been reassured that this is coming back verbatim at the next and last meeting. So I'm fine with that.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Garrard. So can we go to Councillor O'Reilly, please, in opposition?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I thought we were on the same tram, and I was actually visualising one of the new the same train, and I was visualising one of the new Dandenong trains because they've got linked carriages, and we were sort of moving towards each other in the same carriage. And Councillor Mehmeti's motion was pretty much like the main substance of it. So, like Councillor Mehmeti's saying, we have no position, pretty much correct, but for completeness, I would have preferred that the motion moved as in the agenda paper would be put before council for decision. Understand, look, a couple of councillors, I believe, have had the facts available, but for whatever reason haven't had the time or inclination to absorb those particular facts. Councillor Mehmeti's correct in that if a councillor during this debate passed a judgment on the proposal itself and then subsequently voted on a future proposal, then that prejudice would be winky pop. But that is all on the individual councillor that did that, Mayor. And I think if we are this confused, how would our residents feel? And this is why I just want the motion put now, because all it is doing is stating that council has no position on the hub. That is all it is doing. It is not making a decision for or against or prejudicing this council or councillors to a future decision. So the whole debate in one way is like a Seinfeld episode. It's been about nothing. In simple terms, Mayor, all this motion is saying is that council has no position on the South East Hub. We're asking so that residents are not confused, that the letter be removed from the website, and we're saying that we have no inclination or judgment towards a future proposal. And that is the reason why, Mayor, I think we should just clear this up, not waste officers' time recompiling reports that have already been given, and we should just get onto it and get the train to its destination. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Can we get other speakers for or against?
I
Thanks,
agree
Councillor
that we
Mehmeti.
don't defer this. We make a decision tonight, and I'd like to let us vote on item 1 and 5, and that's why I'm not supporting the deferment. I want us to vote on item 1 and 5.
I need a seconder. Okay, so first we've got to go back to the deferral vote. So now we'll go to any other speakers for, yeah? Okay, so now we'll just do the vote for deferment. Hang on. Who needs to speak next? Sorry, right of reply, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, look, I think that I understand somewhat by the train analogy that we're somehow heading from Springvale to Dandenong and somewhere along the lines in a new train. But certainly I think that the item does need to be deferred until there are significant issues put out. and I think there are questions to be raised. And once the issues that come forth, obviously with the information being provided, then I'll be in a much better position to make a decision on the 9th. But I think until such time as information is able to come to hand to be fully briefed of what's what, I think the best thing that this council can do at the moment is to defer the item.
Okay, so we need to,
Madam Mayor, do I
we
get to
need
speak?
to go to the vote.
Just a second.
Yeah, now we're going to have to vote. All right, so we need to vote in terms of deferring this motion. If I could have all those for deferring it to the next council meeting, raising their hand, please. Deferring it to the next meeting. Councillor Dark. Councillor Milkovich. Councillor Deputy Lim. Councillor Garrard. All those against deferring it. Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Tan. Councillor Mehmeti. What have I missed?
I'd like to abstain from voting, please.
Yeah, I'm going to vote against it. And Councillor Formoso against, which is bringing us to 4-4. I get the casting vote, so the deferment of this motion is lost. Yes. So now we will go back to your alternate, Councillor Mehmeti, which is item 1 and 5 as the amendment. Do you have a seconder?
I have a seconder.
Councillor Tan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition
To
the alternate amendment 1 and
yes, in opposition.
Councillor Garrard. Councillor Mehmeti, as the mover for this amendment, if you could speak to the item, please. You happy to? Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Mayor. Like we all said, the train is going around and round. I also like to echo Councillor Mehmeti. So, Council do not have any formal decision on this item. We never heard of any support of the item. So, all we need to do tonight, just to remove, get the club to remove the logo we did not authorize on their marketing materials, and to inform all the residents of the sport club that council did not make any formal decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Is there, so we've got Councillor Garrard in opposition, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think in terms of trips, I feel like we're on a psychedelic one because this is absurd. The reason it's absurd is because what you've knocked out are further unauthorised uses of issues of letters. We know that the CEO has said that the letter that was written by the Mayor that sits on the website is wrong. And so all the other item says is take off the logo, take off the letter from the Mayor, because it does not reflect the council's position. Why would you have a problem with that? It's also that we haven't said we will take over the assets because we haven't said that, because it hasn't been put to us. Why would you have a problem with that? The other item is the removal of the Mayor's letter. So it is acknowledging the letter is wrong. It is a removal of the letter. It is the saying that we have not agreed to take over assets that have never been put to us. Why would you have a problem? Why would you be picking the eyes out of this when all of this is saying we have no position? And because we have no position, the promoters have no right to be promoting us as having a position. This is not wiki-popping anyone. This is saying that there is nothing. We cannot be wiki-pop. We cannot be legally at risk when we are saying that nothing exists. We cannot support nothing. And developers do not have the right to say we support something when we don't support it. It's simple. Any other development, if this, Councillor Dark, I would imagine if it was a block of apartments that suddenly used the council logo, that suddenly said in their pamphlets that the council supported this, and that people trusted that, and they brought those apartments, we would be outraged. I'm sure Councillor Mehmeti, as somebody in the building industry, would be utterly outraged and would not do that himself. As a man of principle, as a man of ethics, I'm sure he would never, ever do that. So why? Why is he not standing by every point on this, which is merely saying we have no position? All of these points merely reflect our position, which is we don't have a position. And they are important because if you leave that letter there, you take the logo off, you leave the letter there, it still looks like we're supporting it. So what are you achieving? Absolutely nothing. And I can see you smiling because you know it achieves nothing. And you know that every point should stand. So there is no point in picking the eyes out of this. That if you really were wanting to do the right thing by the residents of the city of Greater Dandenong, you would ensure that every point remains and you would support every point because that's the right thing to do. That's the proper and right thing to do because we should be straight up with our community. If we do not support something and we don't want the community to think we do and put their trust into that, we should be straight up. And we should all support this because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have to agree with Councillor Garrett. Again, we don't agree on many issues. I think, however, on this particular occasion, she is 100% correct. All of these items in this particular notice of motion are saying nothing more, nothing less, that we do not have a position on a particular project because it has never been presented to us as a council. Whether the previous mayors have signed the letter unauthorised or whatever the case might be, I'm not going to get into that, makes no difference whatsoever. I think we wasted a lot of time tonight getting to the finer point and back to the original substantive motion, which should have been probably discussed to begin with. However, I think deferment might have been a sensible outcome. However, it was lost, so we go back to the drawing board in that instance. Look, there's nothing in this notice of motion that would put us in the winky pop situation as we keep being warned about, because we're not making a decision on a project at all. The project hasn't been considered, hasn't been proposed, hasn't been introduced to us in any way, shape or form in an official meeting. So all we're saying is that we really would like the developer / whoever is the potential beneficial of this to stop using council logo and letter in an unauthorised way, which I think all residents would agree on. And I think, look, at the end of the day, we can either be transparent or not transparent. We can't be halfway. We can't put the daytime blinds down and then we open it up, we can see from the inside out, but not the other way around. You're either transparent or not. And I think in the interest of transparency, we do need to make sure that this is debated, and basically if it is discussed, that the whole notice of motion with all the points of the motion is debated and we vote on that, not on a shortened version that's, picked and choose as to what, might suit or not suit someone. I think it needs to be debated. We should have probably debated it half an hour ago, but nonetheless, we've gotten nearly there. So I think that's why I'm opposing the alternate with just 2 points left and the others deleted. I think it needs to be a whole lot. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any others? Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I do prefer the full motion, but in the spirit of compromise, I think Councillor Mehmeti's alternate motion does have the effect of all the points of the full motion. Just for the edification of anybody listening to this and wondering what a winky pop is, winky pop was an example of a pre-commitment to a decision by a councillor, and under the Local Government Act, we are not allowed to pre-commit our vote to a decision, which is quite timely given there's an election campaign coming up. But I think in the spirit of compromise, I'm happy to support the alternate. I think everybody's patience is wearing out, and my Mikey card needs a top-up. So before it runs out, I'm happy to support it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So we'll go to Councillor Mehmedi, your right of reply. Oh, did you want to add something, Councillor Dark? Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, I rise to oppose the alternate motion being put forward, and that's because why would I sell for two items when there's more issues, when everything that has been put forward in the original motion carries a significantly more weight? What the issue here at hand, and I am getting frustrated, is what Councillor O'Reilly touched on before. I really am, because clearly there is correspondence going on. Clearly there has been correspondence between directors, but more so between mayors. Mayors who have signed their name to a letter on the official Office of the Mayor letterhead saying whatever it is, something along the lines of, "Oshum, I love this project," and something that has not come to council. And as what Councillor Garrett said, the Mayor does not represent the views of the whole council. Their job is to represent the decisions made by council and to ensure that those decisions are then equitably put forward. What the other items that are basically being knocked out are that a mayor signed a letter, but let's not really bring that into the equation. But tonight we'll talk about two things. One is that a logo has been put on a website, and the logo has been put on the website because they received letters from two mayors and council officers saying, yes, we support the project. That's the crux of the whole thing. And then they've said, yes, we support the project. Councillor Mehmedi, Mayor Emeritus Councillor Mehmedi, Councillor Eden Foster, former councillor, now state member for Mulgrave, and council officers have signed letters supporting this project. It is basically giving consent for this group to use the logo. So to then say, oh, look, you can't use the logo, but the mayor's letters are still relevant and the mayors still support a position that has not come to the council and has not been ratified by council, clearly exposes what is going on. The other items here have to do with the fact that we are talking a massive, massive site, should it ever get eventuated, that the decisions here are saying that this council is going to accept and manage. Now, the millions of dollars that are going to go into this facility takes out of the millions of dollars that we need to fund other critical projects over the next 10 years. The revitalisation of Springvale, of Noble Park, of Dandenong, should these items come up, it's something that has to be discussed. And thank you, Councillor Mehmedi. Thank you for your advice.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmedi. We'll let Councillor Dark finish.
Thank you, Mayor. And so I think that the fact is that there needs to be the whole substantive motion put forward, because it links up and it links into every single item consequentially to make sure there are decisions made. Now, if mayors sign letters that supported projects that they potentially shouldn't have, then those letters need to be withdrawn as well. That's what needs to happen. Or there needs to be clarification put out of what's what. To then say at the moment that we don't support it, we have no official stance, but also please remove our logo, even though we have provided letters or multiple letters supporting it, we are basically going around in circles, not coming to a proper resolution of what's what. And I find that what Councillor Garrett put in her original motion, which obviously this alternate is lost, is one that is actually worth supporting because it actually does not determine any set position, but what it does do is actually lines up all of the items there, making sure this council does not have a set position at this current minute, that what has previously been put out was incorrect at any one time, and that is what we need at this current minute until such time as we receive a full submission, and whoever gets elected in the near future can then make a decision on that. But at this current minute, I'm not in a position to cherry pick what's what. I think that the council needs to make it very, very clear about what decisions are being made, and that is why I will not be supporting the alternate.
Okay, thank you. So what we'll need now is can Councillor Mehmedi right of reply
Thank you,
before we
Madam
go to
Mayor.
a vote? Thank you.
It's great to see Councillor Dark in action tonight. He's got a short-term memory. We will clearly bring out CBS reports to councillors over the last 8 years that he's been on council, and not only on one occasion, but on many other occasions. Councillor O'Reilly knows he's been there, so he's got short-term memory loss, only because he's politically trying to gain some points before an election. We have clearly got this here.
Mayor, point of order. Councillor Mehmedi just made a disparaging remark about
Thank you, Councillor Dark.
disparaging remark, and he should withdraw that remark. This is a critical decision about the community. This is not a political decision. Nothing to do with the election.
Thank you. It's a valid point of order. This debate is irrelevant to the matter. Did you have anything else to say?
Well, Mayor, if it's a valid point of order, then according to the governance rules, Council Mayor needs to withdraw the remark.
So, Councillor Mehmeti, could you please withdraw the remark?
Which part? The short-term memory or council elections are coming around the corner?
The use of council powers during outside of this this particular motion. So could you just withdraw that comment, please?
Which one?
Mayor, both, because I'm happy to go and see the GP tomorrow and get an assessment to confirm I don't have short-term memory loss. Councillor Mehmeti clearly has been on holiday too long.
Okay. Can we'll just put that to a vote if we could, please.
Anyway.
So,
thank you, Madam Mayor. All the councillors are in agreement here tonight that item 1, it says that we don't have any official stance, and item 5 that we don't let them use our logo. Now, this may I remind everybody, this is only a notice of motion from one councillor. This is not a report from council officer or council officers. Notices of motion are always asking council to look into something or bring something back to council. This is clearly one councillor's idea. It could have taken Councillor Garrard 5 minutes, because I know she's pretty smart, probably didn't even take her much longer than that, to list these items, and they're just one councillor. No other work has been put into this. No other background's gone into this. So clearly, from council's point of view, I'm quite comfortable in moving item 1 and 5. So I hope councillors support this alternate motion.
okay, thank you. We're just going to put this to a vote. So, items 1 and 5 to be...
Madam Mayor,
No, I'm shutting it down, Councillor Garrard. We are now putting it to a vote for items 1 and 5 of the amendment. So, can I please have all those four?
Sorry, we have a real issue.
Can we please have a vote
have a
for
real
those?
issue.
No, that's not the procedure.
Well, Councillor Garrett was calling a point of order.
I did not hear a point of order.
She was literally about to step to press.
What was that? There was no point of... I did not hear a point of order.
There was it was. This is simply my fabrication. This was crafted with the CEO. It was crafted. Councillor Mehmeti was away, but he wasn't. The CEO confirmed all of these points at the last meeting, and so this notice of motion reflects the CEO's verbatim words. So for him to say that I've sat down and created this myself is erroneous. Not every notice of motion requires a report to come to council.
Thank you. I'm going to put it to a vote. So can I have those that are in favour of items 1 and 5 of the amendment to raise their hand, please? 4, Councillor Dan, Councillor O'Reilly, Councillor Tan, Councillor Deputy Lim, Councillor Mehmeti, Councillor Formoso. Those against, Councillor Garrard, Councillor Milkovich, and Councillor Dark, noting that Councillor Trong is not in the chambers at the moment.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
I'd like to thank my councillor colleagues in supporting this alternate motion. As I've been around this table for a long time, notices of motions are not reports from councillors. Council officers do support in helping write the author of a notice of motion, and that is probably as far as it goes. Notices of motions are there to bring reports or things like that to council with a proper work done by council officers to bring all the pros and cons. So I think we've handled this case extremely well. It's taken a bit of time, but I'm very, very happy with the outcome, that we are telling our community that we have no official stance and we will not let anybody use our letterheads all logos in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmedi. So just noting that the amendment has been carried, we are now going to move to item 6. Report from councillors, delegated members and councillor questions. We'll start with, who looks ready? Councillor Dark looks ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my first question for this evening regards Beaulieu Street in Keysborough, and it's an issue that I've raised previously. I've had 2 traders make contact with me in the last 14 days, particularly given that there has been a lot of the car parks in factories which have then had racking installed. They got pallets taking up car parks, and then consequently, as a part of that now, there's a lot of cars that are now spilling into Beaulieu Street, obstructing views, causing a lot of issues for vehicle movements through the street. Several traders have raised, I suppose, closer to the Olive Grove end, has basically become almost a war zone of cars. There's been some disputes with people being unable to get their cars and get staff to work because car parks that are actually on the title of the factories are now being taken up by massive racking systems that have been installed. One, given that they've been there for quite some time, because on my drive past it became apparent, has there been any clarification or any, I suppose, planning enforcement about the use of car parking for storage and racking systems? And 2, have the local laws team been out to have a look at the issues that are currently there?
Thanks, Councillor Dark. We'll ask Ms Gillies to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dark. That's the first I was aware of that matter, so I'll certainly follow up with the team and provide an update.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Ms Gillies.
Mayor,
Sorry, Councillor Dark, sorry.
Mayor, my next question has to do with Trafalgar Walk in Keysborough, and it's a part of the new part of the Keysborough ward. There's a significant row of townhouses, and at the front, they're reloaded with a car park at the back. But at the front, there's actually a grass verge that runs the whole length with a few trees. A couple of the trees look to be in poor health, and there previously was, I believe, supposed to be some significant plantings that hadn't taken place as a result. When I was out, a couple of residents did raise that there was supposed to be some additional plantings that haven't taken place, and the site does look quite barren. It was very, very hard to tell, and unfortunately my access to Intramaps was revoked, or all the councillors' access was revoked. And then as a result of that, I haven't been able to confirm whether it is privately owned or a council verge. It looks to be a council verge, but if we could please have a look and confirm, 1, if it is council verge, whether we have the ability of being able to add some additional trees.
I'll ask Mr Manivasa Gasavam to respond, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Definitely, we are happy to have a look at that, and if it is council owned, we are happy to look at adding more trees to that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. My next question has to do with Stanley Road and Cheltenham Road, and this is a matter for the Department of Transport. There was a significant accident about a week and a half ago outside the Raleigh Island Reserve at Stanley Road, at Cheltenham Road, to which a motorcyclist was hit by a large four-wheel drive and then another additional car. There's about 4 cars were involved, and the motorcyclist was very, very, very seriously injured to the point where there was a significant amount of ambulances there. As a result of that, it triggered a lot of emails, and I'll forward through what I've got as well, about the lack of safety that the intersection is currently providing. There are issues that people have got much larger vehicles these days, a lot of larger utes, myself included, and those sort of issues then come to the fact that there are, the verge as you pull out of Stanley Road onto Cheltenham Road is not very long, and people then end up in situations where the rear part of the vehicle is out or the front is too far further forward. And the amount of traffic that is now travelling down Cheltenham Road is posing to be a real significant issue. There has been, given that there is also the Estia aged care facility, there's the Domain estate, and there's a lot of older people that are now living in the area as well, it's starting to pose a significant threat where people are being blinded by the traffic movements that are occurring, and then also not feeling safe enough being able to turn out of the intersection, because if they do go the other way down through Sunnyvale to Chapel Road, at Chapel Road, there's a lot of traffic coming off the bypass very, very quickly, and it doesn't give them time to be able to stop and check to be able to get out. I've got about 5 people so far that have raised concerns. I think it does need to be addressed one way or the other, whether we have the ability to have conversations with the Department of Transport, whether we can also get the data of the amount of accidents, because I'm reliably told that there's been quite a few in the even last few months, to be able to say that this intersection is significantly concerning.
Yep, thanks, Councillor Dark. We will ask Mr. Feist to respond, and if you could also forward those emails through to him as well, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I was just going to suggest that as well. Please do send information through to us, and certainly understanding it's a DTP road, more than happy still to have a look, obviously, at the issues out there and the safety concerns, and we can have conversations with DTP around that and advocate on behalf of Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my next question is regarding Stud Road, particularly from Herbert Street to Clough Street, and some issues around the amount of rubbish that seems to be accumulating along that area, the stuff that's in the road, and the issues that have been occurring around that area as well. I know that it has been a long-standing issue that has been occurring. I know that there were previously clean-up orders in place with several complexes with people who were undesirably occupying the premises illegally or legally. But there has been a massive spike in the amount of rubbish that is now being dumped back on Stud Road. And I know that it gets cleaned up and then very, very quickly more rubbish seems to keep coming from the residents as well. What have we currently got in place being able to deal with the matter that is currently at hand? I know there's also a lot of issues to do with the crime and safety in the area. There's been some stabbings recently in a complex on Stud Road as well. And that's obviously starting to cause quite a bit of concern as a significant issue.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Dark. I've raised that our last CBS meeting as well, and in regards to having a CCTV camera perhaps placed there. I'll ask Mr. Manivasagasavan to respond, if you could, please.
Yes. Thanks, councillors. Yes, we have a sort of a hotspot program which we go and pick up the rubbish. But you're right, there are a number of things. We are looking at a number of options, including some cameras as well, to look at that. And definitely the teams would have a look at that again and see what other things we can do from the waste collection point of view and also enforcement point of view as well. We look at both options.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all my questions for tonight. I just want to give a quick statement because I was away at the last council meeting regarding the passing of Inga Powlich, MLC, who was a significant mentor of mine in building me into my political career. She was actually a local for quite a long time as well. She was a teacher, I believe, at Cleland High School, I think is what it was.
Yes, she was at my school.
And now it's changed names. And she was a fierce advocate, particularly for multicultural communities through the southeast. I know she took a lot of the information she had. She worked very, very well with a lot of the multicultural communities to ensure that there were levels of support and activeness as well. Not only that, and also being able to set the policy and change things within the Liberal Party room as well. She passed away with her husband and her son and her mother by her side as well at the age of 67. But over the 20 years that she represented the southeast in Parliament, she had fought for the city of Great Dandenong on multiple occasions. And there were on many occasions where people would bring to her issues and concerns from all different sides of the political equation. I know Councillor Lim had raised questions to Springvale, and they were being raised as well, amongst other things. And she was a fierce advocate beyond what the values were. She was very much supportive in her formative years as a migrant from Bosnia, and being able to come and the opportunities that gave her, she was also then able to echo her sentiment. As a high school teacher, she had the ability to bring younger people up and teach them and guide them in the way things were. And I was one of her proteges, if you will, in that she taught me a significant amount of how governance works, of how politics works, of how local government works, of state politics. And without her, I wouldn't be where I am today, and particularly the skills and attributes I've learned are nothing from her. So I just want to once again pass on my regards to her husband Savo, her son Paul, and her mum Nina, Vale Inga. Thank you.
Yeah, deepest condolences to you and her entire family. And if you're happy to, I'm happy to write a letter to the family expressing our condolences as a council, if you're happy for me to do that. Yeah. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, nothing to report. Just a couple of questions to the officer. I've had one of the residents call me up today and ask me regarding the ownership of the land, which I was pretty sure I was correct, but if we can just get a full clarification regarding the freeway reserve on Gladstone Road near the Faith Church. There's blackberries that are sort of invading the sides of the freeway, sort of supporting walls, and they're slowly encroaching onto the footpath. The resident called the council. The council, I believe, advised that it's the DOT or Vic Roads or whatever, which I believe to be correct. However, then she called the DOT and they advised that it's the council. If we can please just get a clarification of some sort as to who's responsible. Like I said, I'm fairly sure it is the DOT because it does bound. It's basically right up against the freeway fence that's sort of sitting there, please.
Yeah, I'll ask Mr. Feist to respond, but please tell your residents not to pick the berries either because they've been sprayed.
No, she is well aware. No, she was.
Thank you.
She was more concerned about her Kathmandu jacket getting ripped while she was walking
Okay.
past.
Mr. Feist, if you could respond, please.
Yeah, thank you for raising that with Councillor Milkovich, and absolutely we'll straight away have a look at who the responsible authority is for that land and let you know straight away. Thank you.
Thank you. And just another quick question. If we could please monitor, I know we keep going on about Gladstone Road, but the road seems to be deteriorating faster than we can patch it up in certain spots, not everywhere. And like worst parts of Gladstone Road are actually fine. But between probably Park Road and then the freeway overpass and then past Outlook Drive where it turns into Police Road, it seems to be like we're patching it up and it just keeps crumbling away. So if we can maybe just, I don't know, increase the patrols and just the maintenance in this part until it's a permanent solution's found, or if the resurfacing's happening in next year or something, whatever. Because as soon as our crews patch up, there seems to be a next one next to it, and then they keep going around and around. I don't know if we can maybe just look at patching it up a bit more, or something. But yeah, it keeps occurring faster than we can fix it at a time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Manavasa-Gasavam will respond to that.
Yes, thank you, councillors. Yes, definitely we can have a look at that. Yeah, we'll monitor the situation.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Mehmeti.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been driving past this industrial street for a couple of weeks now, and I see a shipping container on a council road. Are these people who put these shipping containers on a council road, do they need to get a permit, and how long are they allowed to stay on the road? Because this one's been there for at least a couple of weeks, and I've seen them unloaded, and it's been sitting empty there for quite a while now. What's our regulations on shipping containers on our local roads?
Mr. Feist, if you could respond, please, and then maybe if you could give the details of where that exactly is, Councillor Mehmeti, in an email.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, I'll take your question on notice, Councillor Mehmeti. And then happy if you can send through the request details and we'll look at it for you as soon as possible.
Thank you. In your response, if you can just respond to all councillors, because I think all councillors would love to know what rules and regulations are regarding shipping containers on our local roads. Also this evening, I've had an email from a resident in Purdy Avenue, Dandenong. There is a red car which has been abandoned for a little while. Can council officers look into that abandoned car in Purdy Avenue, Dandenong?
Yes, we are happy to have a look at that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Snap sense of Councillor Mehmeti.
Also, driving down Hammond Road and Kirkham Road, whether it's dump rubbish or shopping trolleys, can council officers please look into? I know we're on top of the hard waste rubbish, but there's quite a build-up of shopping trolleys which have been there now for a couple of weeks and they're not moving, so no one's attending to them. And normally when that happens, you'll get a few more and a few more and a few more. Before you know it, there'll be 10 or 15 trolleys on each of those roads. So can council officers please look into collecting those shopping trolleys on Hammond Road and Kirkham Road, Dandenong.
Thank you. Ms Gillies.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Yes, we will.
Councillor Mehmeti, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway.
Councillor Mehmeti.
I'd like to congratulate two of our local residents who live in Dandenong. They're two lawyers, two refugees who've come here and settled in Dandenong. They're now lawyers. Their names are Sijad and Sitara. They hosted a Australian Hazara legal network where they brought 200 local residents in one room, and I think there was about nearly 80 aspiring lawyers from the Hazara community who are already studying law or into law already, which is phenomenal. And I think, Madam Mayor, if you could write Sajjad and Sitara a letter and congratulate them for hosting this legal network for aspiring lawyers in our community, and big congratulations to them, because only a few years ago they were on a boat travelling to Australia as boat refugees. So unbelievable what they've been able to achieve in such a short term. So Well done to them. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to write that. Councillor Deputy Mayor Richard Lim.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick one because my council report already emailed to the governance. Last Thursday, on the 15th or Thursday, the 15th of August, I had a meeting with our former Mayor Rose Blade and also discussing mainly about what else I can help community center and plus community garden. And also the same day attend a function that organized by the Honorable Consul General of Thailand, also ambassador and so many esteemed guests, so many from different Consul General of different countries. And on Friday the 16th, I attend also Vietnam Veteran Days with many Australian veterans that fight in the Vietnam Wars. And also on Saturday, the following Saturday, I attended Springwell Football and Netball Club with our Mayor and also our Councillor Jim Mary and our Councillor Sean O'Reilly as well. And after that, I attended barbecue organized by UC Helper. It means we call United Community Helper. That's the organization that's been helping our diverse community, not just Asian community or any community right across our city of Greater Dandenong. And the following day, Sunday, I also organized Cambodia Vision Charity Lunch at Budrang Sai, and we raised a lot of money on that day. We raised about 63,000. And the following Monday, I had a meeting with Honorable Consul General again to discuss about how to make Springvale a better place, especially the second largest Thai town in Springvale, or in Australia, actually, that's what she said. And we just follow up those sort of our revitalization, because she really wants to understand what revitalization is all about. And after that, on Wednesday, I attend Malaysian Independence Day and so many other organizations like I Know Foundation and also Leadership Study Tour from Malaysia and so on. On a Friday, I attended Father's Day celebration at Italian Senior Club. Saturday, did Monash Children Gala Dinner, organized by Springvale RSL and myself, and was a successful one. We raised a lot of money as well. Up to now, we count probably nearly 60,000, not finished it on that night, only we still add up all the donor too, and also our Councillor Jim Matty attend that function as well. On the Sunday, last Sunday, I attend Vietnamese Veteran Days as well, hosted by Vietnamese Veteran Association and also ARVN Ranger Association. Thanks. And the last one, I had so many questions, but already answered by our acting CEO, especially thank for that, and so many other questions by governance, and especially our manager of revitalization as well. Thank you for that. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Councillor Tan, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I've got a few questions through you, Mayor. Firstly, through the relevant officer, just regarding to our bus shelter advocacy. Through our council, how are we doing with our bus shelter advocacy at the moment?
Mr. Feist, if you could respond, please.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Tan. I'll say the position hasn't changed in terms of progress around bus shelters. We know that there's an existing contract in place through the Department of Transport and Planning for those shelters, but we're continuing our conversations to see improvements in that space. But I don't have any further updates beyond that this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's really sad to see, especially in cold, rainy weather. You see a lot of students just waiting for the bus. There's no shelter, there's no seat. Some just sleep, waiting for the bus. So it's really sad to see people who taking a public transport and there's no space for them to at least, under the shelter. So mainly on Corrigan Road, it's really peak hours, so mostly students in the morning, and you get sometimes disabled people just waiting there, sitting on the wheelchair. So it's really sad to see people that we can't even provide bus shelter for them. So if we can advocate heavily on the bus shelter, especially during the location that needed space at the moment along Corrigan Road, which is a lot of high school students, disabled people along that area as well. So we can look into it. I can send you the exact location, but usually along the Corrigan Road. Thanks.
Sorry, I'll just get Mr. Feist to respond to that if you could.
Yeah, happy to look into it further, and if you are able to email me the specific locations you're talking about, that's great. I'll follow that up.
Thank you.
My second questions, I do receive a few complaints from our residents, mainly to do with our process, especially with planning permit applications, taking too long for us to get back to the applicants, so sometimes could take up to 4 months. Through the relevant officer, can we simplify with our process, make it easier and faster for us to get back to them? If we need something, can we just get everything done all at once instead of asking for one document and then waiting for the next one? It's just frustrating in terms of getting the process going. Thank you.
If Mr. Manivasa Gasavam could respond, please.
Yes, thank you for that question. Our planning process, like if you look at the data, our planning process is one of the best in the state. And also we do have a pre-application process that the applicants can have that discussions with our officers to get that information. So I would say is ask them to contact the planning department to have a pre-application discussion. That would help them to fast track some of those information requested.
Thank you.
Another question is regarding to our CIP, which is Capital Work Program, that's been passed on our budget last in June. So for 24-25, one of the CIP projects in my ward was to help the Noah Park CFA brigade. So they needed the AED cabinet, which is less than 2,000. They waited for 2 years on this. So once we already passed the budget, can I get a relevant officer to just find out what's the next process? Can anyone contact brigade because they need it urgently? It's waiting for like 2 years already, so I just want to find out what's our process since we passed the budget. Thanks.
Thanks. Mr. Manivasa Gasavam, if you could respond.
Yeah, we're happy to check with the teams and then provide you the update with that.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have recently been contacted by residents who are living in a really horrendous situation. After having purchased their houses, they are now found that the hotel they thought was beside them has become a rooming house. And so residents are laying awake at night, hearing other residents calling out for food, telling them that they are being attacked. They are hearing constant distress. They are so distressed that these residents are actually taking food into these residents in the hotel because there are no services. There are no mental health services. There are no social services. There are zero services in this hotel, which is being run openly as a rooming house. And when those residents contacted the council to ask if it was legal to run a rooming house in a hotel, the council officer told them they could not investigate because it is registered as a hotel. And because it's registered as a hotel, they could not investigate it as being a rooming house. Can the relevant officer confirm if that is the position, because it is registered as a hotel and being illegally run as a rooming house? And I understand there are 3 hotels now being run that way. And I also understand from last week we have 4 times the number of rooming houses than any other municipality. And now we have, by stealth, our hotels being turned into rooming houses. Can the officers confirm that you cannot investigate if a rooming house is being run if it is being registered as a hotel?
We'll ask Mr. Manivasa Gasavam to respond, if he could, please.
Yes, thank you for that question. Definitely, it will be good to have a look at the exact location and the information. So if it is a motel, I think it can be run for different purposes. Without knowing the arrangements of the hotel, what's the arrangements they have with the relevant agencies or relevant other departments, it's hard to comment on that one. So happy to take that on notice and we can have a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, which raises the other question, are there any limits? So we have a severe housing crisis and we absolutely want people to be housed. But Dandenong seems to be providing up to 5 or 6 times more than other municipalities. And when they are run in hotels, there is no support for them, so that residents are actually caring for them, residents that are living nearby, because they are so distressed and they have extreme mental health issues. And so residents are actually putting in the social services themselves. Do we have any limits? I noticed, my question is actually to the officer who is in charge of our housing strategy. Other councils actually have a housing strategy which looks at the mix of housing and that balance of housing. We seem to right now have this extraordinary scale up of rooming houses in the city of Greater Dandenong. And so is the strategy going to address this, and are there any limits, or is Dandenong going to become the rooming house capital of Melbourne?
That's a question. Okay. Mr. Feiss, if you could respond, please. Or Ms. Hajari. Ms. Hajari, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the question. Actually, it sits in our both areas, the housing strategy that City Futures look at, but I'm happy to give some information, and you please jump in if you want. So yeah, the housing strategy and the principles, of course, we look at the diversity of the housing, and then is one of the things that in the plan for Victoria we advocate for is exactly the different type of the housing we need, and look at the core of the rooming housing, which is the lack of enough housing. But in terms of what the situation we are dealing now, our team, as I mentioned before, has commissioned the work which is underway, and we are hoping that we can get the results soon, which is looking at the specific areas in the Dandenong in terms of the current rooming housing, their quality, their situation, and interview and working with the different stakeholders to get that what is exactly the current situation, not necessarily just the compliance of that, but also how they are the living situation, how they are support situation, and how people move around this. So we are hoping with the result of this research, alongside the work that the team in the City Futures are doing around the housing strategy, which is well on the way, like starting and should be finished by end of next year. So we would in the position, plus the other things, advocating for the affordable housing and the social housing, that help us to be in a much better position with understanding the situation, also preventing of having more of these very unreasonable and unwelcoming the situation that you mentioned.
Thanks, Mr. Hajari.
Thank you very much. In Keysborough South, on Hutton Road, crossing over to Perry Road, for these school children coming from Mount Hira. We have put the footpath in, which allows the students to travel onto Hutton Road, which is great. But we now have a situation where school children are entering a major road, and the parents and the school have requested that we commence a process for applying for a school crossing supervisor to protect and supervise those children crossing Hutton Road. Are we able to commence that process, and what would that require?
Mr. Feiss, if you could respond. I think we've covered this in our forum.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your question, Councillor Garrard. Absolutely appreciate the school's concerns around safety for children getting to school. As the Mayor just touched on, we did have a Safety Around Schools forum last week, I believe it was, or just over a week ago now, where we had 9 schools attend. So we can holistically look at some of these concerns and some of these challenges around schools. So part of that forum was understanding what some of the issues are across those schools and consistencies across those issues, so we can then develop an action plan around how we then approach them. So in terms of next steps, we'll see what then comes out of that forum, and then we'll look at next steps and how we can roll those out across not just one particular school, but all schools. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My final question just relates to an earlier question asked around Walker Street, but I think maybe that relevant officer is not here. My question is that we heard that with 30,000 visitors visit Walker Street. what I wasn't clear is that the relevant officer said that they had extended an opening hour in one evening, and that had been very successful. So my question is, was there a dramatic increase in users in that? And therefore, if we're finding that it's after hours and also the trial of the third Saturday, are we going to then look at skewing the hours so when people are not at work, so that we're actually allowing the general public to use this art gallery?
Mr. Manivasa-Gasavam, if you could respond, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Definitely, we'll have a look at the data and also analyse that, and they will provide further information to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, a few events attended, including Springvale District Football Club sponsors lunch on the 17th of August. That was with yourself, Deputy Mayor Lim, and Councillor Mametti. Let me know if I miss anyone out. I think I've covered it. And also the Cancer Council. You're at the district? Yeah. Oh, sorry, Councillor Dan. That's why I said let me know, and I've got told. Cancer Council morning tea, hosted by Eden Foster MP. That was Councillor Dan, Councillor Tan, Councillor Long, and your good self, Mayor. I think I've covered everybody there. Okay, good. Not much short-term memory loss. Good to see. And also a reminder that this Wednesday we've got the public meeting on the Springvale Revitalisation Action Plan happening at Springvale Community Hub, 6 p.m. So all are welcome to that. One question, Mayor. I was speaking to a shop owner in a group of shops on Springvale Road where Vinnie's is, around about 123 Springvale Road, that group of shops. And it's an interesting problem in that they've got parking there, but there's been a bit of a change in balance in that one trader has become really successful and is doing really well, which is a good problem to have in one respect. But what it's meant is that this trader is experiencing issues because of the parking pressure, because of this other successful trader. There's issues with people overstaying, which impacts on the other trader that isn't as successful, you might say. And that's caused that problem. Now, the trader I was talking to has contacted parking enforcement officers around about 10 times, and she says the enforcement officers are very good, are very responsive, go out and book people when they're there. But the problem is this problem will persist because of that constant parking pressure in this group of shops. So my question to the Director of City Futures, Acting CEO, is in this sort of circumstance, is there anything on the horizon that we have currently or potentially in the future to deal with this sort of issue in a systematic way? So with the we've rolled out pods, parking overstay detection systems like the lasers that come up in our activity centres, but could we potentially, in these small shopping strips where there is high parking pressure, could we potentially roll those pods out to those ones to then be able to deal with parking enforcement in a more systematic way? And this question is without notice. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Are you happy to respond now? Okay, thanks. Mr. Manivasa-Gasavam.
Thanks for that question. Yeah, definitely we'll investigate that and we'll look at all the options, including the pod, and then we'll come back to you with the solutions. Thanks.
Thanks. Councillor Dam.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a busy but productive fortnight. In addition to the events that Councillor O'Reilly has already mentioned, I was able to spend an afternoon with the Ukrainian Association in Noble Park to celebrate their 33rd year of Ukrainian independence. And I'd just like to acknowledge their work, particularly with the increase in volume of support services that they provide, especially in recent years with new arrivals following the tragedies of what's happening back in their homeland over the last few years. I've had a productive meeting with the Dandenong Market Board as well, and I'd encourage everyone to meet with them as well if you have the time. I really think that the market is one of the crown jewels of Dandenong, and it really highlights the best of what we have to offer, also bringing in so many visitors from all over town as well. I'd also like to thank the team at Springvale Monash Legal Service for their time this week. We know how valuable their work is, often with limited resources. So it was great to sit down with them and get a better mutual understanding of some of the challenges that are facing our community. And on the weekend, myself and the Mayor was in attendance at the Noble Park Community Centre's showcase for junior artists as well. It was really amazing to see some of the talent of really young artists in our community as well. And I look forward to the upcoming art show in October. And just to finish off, just a bit of feedback from residents over the last couple of weeks. There seems to be a consistent concern when it comes to safety in the area still, especially with lighting coverage in the evening. Some streets are almost pitch black. I'd like to highlight particularly the neighbourhoods behind the Sandown Park Hotel, so around Racecourse Road, Ambury Crescent, around there. So that's just something I wanted to flag going forward. When council looks at light auditing, again, I just really want to raise that. And there's been a couple faulty lights as well, but they've all been reported to United Energy. And lastly, just wanted to also make note of some instances of homeless camping at Leon Trenbath Reserve Playground in the same area. I drove past today to have a look, and there wasn't anyone there, fortunately, today. But from what I gather from residents, that is quite a common spot for rough sleeping. So just wanted to also put that on council's radar. They're not causing any trouble, but just wanted to give council that heads up as well. But otherwise, no questions from me, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dan. Councillor Trong.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayor. Last week I worked with the SAMVEC to organize for the 2024 London Festival, the Children Festival, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the 22nd of September at the SAMVEC office in Burnham Park. They would like to ask me to ask all our councillors to try to attend with them and with the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trong. I'll table the events that I attended in the minutes. And Mr. Mani Vasagassavam, as the acting CEO, you've got questions that need to be tabled that were taken on notice from the last meeting. Thank you very much. And item 7, urgent business, as there is no urgent business. We got there, folks. Item 8, close of business at 9:56 p.m. Thank you. Stay safe. Have a good week, everyone. Thank you. Good night. Happy birthday, Luca.